welcome to 4Player Podcast. This is episode 495. I am your host, Nick Henderson. I'm joined this evening by Brad Simons.
Did you know that fucking
Nolan Hedstrom,
even Wildlands,
and Christopher Davis.
I'm going to start talking too here at this point.
Ghost Recon Wildlands actually got good reviews.
What did you call me?
I totally called you Chris Davis.
Brad, I played
Christopher Guthridge.
Damn it, Nick.
I played Wildlands at E3, and I told y'all how frustrated I was at how much I enjoyed it.
Wait.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Wait. Ghost Recon Wildlands is getting good reviews too?
Yes.
Guys, what the fuck is happening in
I
2017?
hate it.
Is it really?
Yes. Yeah, apparently it's really fun in co-op.
Guys,
This year fucking sucks. I
it's
kind of want to
so
quit my
good.
job.
This year is so good, it sucks.
Yeah.
You know how I knew it was really fucked? I saw Dan from Dan's Gaming on Twitter go, I can't keep up with all this shit. And he plays games for his job.
Oh
Every
my
day.
god, guys!
Every day.
I got near Automata in the mail yesterday, and all I've done is I opened it and I turned
Fuck,
around
that
the
came out
cover,
too,
so I got
huh?
the flip cover, the beautiful flip cover. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, this looks great, and then I put it on my
Whoa,
shelf and I
what
cried
does
a
the
little bit.
flip cover
It's
look
the,
like?
I mean, it's the.
Shut up, I'll look it up.
Okay, all right, you look that up. Anyways,
I want to play Nier so bad.
yeah, me too. I want to play Nier so bad. I want to play Horizon.
I saw a screenshot, an actual in-game screenshot that was like,
oh yeah, but
you want to fuck 2B, don't you?
Wow.
It was just like a blank.
It was like a loading screen
It was
or
like
something.
it was a loading screen, and that's all it says. You're thinking
Would
about
you fuck
fucking
me?
2B, aren't you?
This game
I'd
seems
fuck
properly near meta.
Yeah. So, anyways, this is Nintendo Switch launch week. It's the Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild launch week, and as I think we all kind of anticipated, it's kind of dominated most of our time, gaming time.
I've been playing a lot of Snipperclips.
Nolan's been playing a lot of Snipperclips, and we'll talk about Snipperclips. But before I get too far into the show, before we start talking about Zelda, because there is a lot of discussion to have about Zelda, and albeit we will do our best to keep that as spoiler free as possible, but there are lots of
Thing kills Zelda.
lots of things we want to talk about in regards to Zelda. So we'll have that conversation. But first, I want to read feedback from our last episode of the podcast where we talked about Horizon, we talked about Hollow Knight. And we also announced the winner of our February giveaway last week, which was one Mr. Boy, and he chose Salt and Sanctuary for his game.
Good game.
Yeah, great game. So we do a monthly game giveaway here on the site. So all you have to do to enter your name in the said giveaway is to support the show or participate in the show in some way by either leaving some feedback or comment about an episode, in which case we would read it at the beginning of a show, or you can just retweet the show when we post it on Twitter. Anything like that will help, and will enter you in the giveaway. But first, feedback from last week. First piece of feedback comes from iMac of Death. He says, if they don't address losing your... Okay, he's talking about Middle-earth.
Okay.
We did talk about that announcement last week.
Yep.
Says, if they don't address losing your Wraith buddy, I'll be a bit disappointed. He was a cool dead elf. Now, I'm really confused because...
Was he talking about us or the game?
No, the game.
Because both do that.
Wait, is he who was he talking about?
Middle-earth, the new one.
Uh-huh.
You...
Celebrimbor, the ghost that was like... that was
Sure.
possessing you.
Yeah.
You're separated from him in this game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But you have a ring of
in that
power.
trailer they show they show him being like ripped out of Talion.
It's confusing, though, because we're
That's his name.
We're actually going to talk about the Middle-earth gameplay.
In Middle-earth, Shadow of Mordor, you're Italian.
We're gonna in the second segment we're gonna talk about that gameplay debut of Middle-earth: Shadow of War. But in that footage, I know it's a bad name. In that footage, it looks like he's still attached to you. So I'm confused. Like
Maybe
you see
with
those
the ring of
flashes where you
power-
see like the Wraith's face.
Maybe with the Ring of Power, you can just call him. You can be like,
Maybe.
hey, what's up?
We'll
maybe
talk
they haven't
about that later. This
Yeah.
is feedback we'll talk about
Yeah.
later.
So I would say stick around for the
Also,
second segment.
Brad
Bravo
doesn't
for
care.
remembering the story of that game.
He might have just
Yeah.
played it.
You're a jerk.
You remember the name Celebrimbor.
Well, that's from like Tolkien lore.
Dude.
That's the elf who forged the rings of power.
I forgot the name Talion.
Do they actually say the name Celebrimbor outside of the Silmarillion or whatever?
yeah,
That's
I don't know
in
somewhere.
the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
It was a big
yeah.
book. I'm sure they mentioned
Anyway.
that
It
All
was
right.
on a manuscript found under
Back on
Tolkien's
track.
bed when he died. I don't know.
Back on track.
Tobley says, he said something else, but I'm going to skip to this part. He says, one thing I noted is the amount of time issues He's talking about things we were mentioning on the show. One thing I noticed, the amount of times issues with keeping up with 2017 game releases came up during the show, which seems like a stressful topic and makes me happy that I don't feel compelled to keep up with the zeitgeist.
Okay, so to comment on that, that's the thing I hate most about us doing this podcast.
Me too.
Is the fact that I feel like if I don't play a game, like our podcast is missing out. Like I want to be able to tell people about the games that are going on. Yeah. And I hate when, 4 weeks goes by in a row and I've only played one game. Yeah. So every podcast I'm like, I've just been playing more Zelda.
You feel obligated to be like up to date and in the know on everything.
And so and it's not just that. I mean, obviously I want to play these games. I'm not going out of my way to play games that are shitty or games I don't like.
Right.
It's just more of like, it is stressful. It's very stressful for all of us.
I started a new thing. Remember, I always talk about how I love doing spreadsheets where every time I finish a game, I marked it. I started doing it differently this year. This year, I actually put all the games that are, like, as release dates are announced, I put them in this spreadsheet. And I gray them out so they're not out yet.
Okay,
and I'm looking at it now, and I'm like, holy fuck!
I have them in release date order. Yeah.
It's like 10, 15 games that are through the end of June or July. Actually, August now that they announced Middle Earth, and I'm just like, fuck. There's all of them are turning out good so far.
That's a good idea, but I would probably never do it myself. Could you share that template with me?
I will happily share my template with you.
Okay.
Anyways,
don't limit yourself.
Drew327 says, "Hey guys, longtime viewer, mainly listener since the JTV days. Just gave you my Twitch Prime free subscrition. Thank you very much. We appreciate it, Drew.
This guy.
I think the first time I saw the stream, you were doing 100 community level Little Big Planet thing.
Oh wow, I remember that.
I wanted to know.
That was marathon week. I did it with school.
Yeah, I wanted to know, as a Twitch subscriber but not a patron, am I able to submit questions?
Well, this is kind of a question.
This is kind of a question. Like
we're going to answer it.
We're not going to.
Like, I would say if you mention that exact fact in your comment on the podcast, I will gladly read your question. But we tend to focus, as long as the question is related to a conversation we had on a previous podcast. How's that? Like, patrons can ask us anything. They can ask us about what dessert we want to have sex with.
And they frequently do.
And they frequently do. If you have a question about something that we talked about on the show, the previous episode, we will gladly read and answer your question. So thank you again for your support. One Mr. Boy says, Crispy's early impressions of the technical aspects of Horizon on a PS4 and not a Pro really has me reconsidering playing it. I hate that consoles have gone this way. It used to be the single unifying reason a gamer chose a console over PC was the ability to just pop it in and get the experience. Here it sounds like there is a huge difference in quality between the PS4 and Pro. If I may ask a follow-up question, does the regular version of Horizon feel like a poor game technically compared to other PS4 games, or just in comparison to its Pro version? First of all, I don't. Crispy would have to attest to this.
Can I address this?
Go ahead.
Since it was directed at me personally. Yes. First of all, I do not think that the regular PS4 version of Horizon is in any way a poor game or inferior to other PS4 games. It still is a very well put together. It's a great game, and it still, for the most part, looks beautiful.
Yes.
There are noticeable differences between the PS4 and the PS4 Pro version. There are certain graphical options that are not available to you if you're playing on the regular PS4, and I was a little, kind of. It wasn't so much Horizon. I should clarify. When I was making those comments last week, it wasn't so much Horizon that I had a problem with. It was more what I was extrapolating out of that as far as what the future of the baseline PS4 is going to be.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't so bad. I was a little worried that maybe, 2-3 years from now.
If this is as bad as that gap gets.
Right. If it stays like this, it's not going to be an issue. If this is like kind of a exponentially increasing gap, though, that over the next 2 or 3 years you might see a real problem, that's what I'm worried about.
Yeah.
Horizon itself, I do not think is hindered largely at all by this. Yeah. It gets a little framey. The draw distances get a little weird every now and again, but
you know what that sounds like?
Horizon,
that sounds like a console game.
It does sound like a console game, and whatever. Horizon Zero Dawn is a great game that is deserving of your attention.
This is the shit that's driving me crazy, because it's just the fact that it exists that people are losing their minds.
Right.
When if that other version didn't exist, they'd be like, "Oh, this game
that's
what it is,
yeah.
and it's perfectly
fine." And that's
fine.
kind of what was happening to me.
It's happening with Zelda too, where there's people out there who think that maybe they shouldn't play Zelda yet until they can pick up a Switch, and that's crazy.
Yeah. This game is too
Yeah.
good to just not
No, no,
play
no.
right
Yeah.
now.
It's
If you have the-
crazy.
If
It's
you have a
absolutely-
Wii U, you should absolutely
It's absolutely
be
worth
playing
playing
it.
on
I
the
mean, would
Wii
you
U.
not play a PC game if you didn't have the latest graphics card?
But in,
Yeah.
in
That's
the
absurd.
In the same vein, to answer the question, if you have a PS4, like not a Pro, you should be playing Horizon. It
Right.
doesn't matter that it doesn't run as well as it does on the Pro. It is a great fucking game that is extremely well optimized, even for a PS4.
Yeah.
Like that is a good game you should be playing. Except for the fact that thereing too many fucking games out right now, so you're not playing
Yeah,
anything.
about that.
And we've-
I haven't
we've-
touched Horizon since last week,
all-
thanks to Zelda.
What
Yeah,
about
me
Neo?
neither.
Dude, who the fuck knows what I'm even? Because like for
I
me,
thought you were going to play
for-
Yakuza 6 this year.
You,
We've
Brad?
talked about that before too. It does kind of suck because it diversifies it stratifies the console sector of gaming a little more than it used to be. You know, and we've talked about how that kind of sucks from a console player's point of view because, like he was saying, the big draw of having a console is all you got to do is pull it out of the box, plug it into your TV, and then you're getting the exact same gameplay experience as everybody else with that console.
Yeah.
And that's not as true now. But
All right.
this case, I
We
think
need,
it's
we need to move
Two
on. We've been
more
on this
small
feedback for
pieces
so
of
long.
feedback that I want to go over. One button to rule says, I think Monolith will make a forgettable game with Shadow of... he wrote Shadow of Mordor. Shadow of War. The Third Age has been done to death, and with so much lore and different locations in Tolkien's work to pull from, it's a missed opportunity to expand on aspects that haven't been covered. A story about the elves at war with Morgoth would be new and interesting while still utilizing the Nemesis system. Yours truly, the metal button. This is what I was talking about. My biggest disappointment, in fact, the only reason I'm really disappointed with the sequel to Middle-earth is that it seems like it's once again leaning into the same. I want to see more of that world, more of that universe.
My argument.
I mean, I
So
think
you agree with me.
I do
think
agree.
we all
agree.
I think if you ask a lot of people, they're going to be kind of bummed. Like to me, it felt like
Orcs and Brown. Yeah.
yeah. Like I wouldn't mind if some of the game took place and had that kind of setting, but I'm hoping that there's gonna I would like to see some lush environment, maybe some sunlight. You
But
know what I mean?
what you're talking about when he's talking about aren't the same thing.
Well, I know,
But
he's talking about
yes.
more about lore, like and there's
But he's talking about like a general like time setting for the
Yeah.
game, which I mean it's still you still have the whole world to play with in any setting. I don't think you have to set a game, earlier than the Third Age to get what you guys are talking about. But what he's talking about, like delving into more of like the background conflicts that kind of inform what the Lord of the Rings ends up becoming, is a really interesting idea.
yeah.
I don't think that because that this game is a direct sequel to Shadows of Mordor, though, it's reasonable to assume that it's all just going to be brown.
Yeah, I mean,
know.
and it's still too early to judge how that's
Right.
going to turn out. It just feels like, based on what they've shown, which again we'll talk about in the second segment, it just feels like a little too close to what the first one was, and I was hoping for a little more diversity. But yeah, I would love to see an entirely another aspect of that universe.
For sure.
Agreed.
Last piece of feedback comes from Gonzo Lude. Says 2017 seems like it will be the next 1998 or 2007 for video gaming. Too early to call it, but so far it seems like it will be a landmark year for the medium. I think we all kind of feel that way right now.
Yep.
Unless like May is like the last good game and then nothing else good comes out until the end of the year, this is shaping up to be a fucking incredible year.
Mario Odyssey is supposed to come out this year.
Red Dead Redemption?
No,
2?
don't say things like that.
Fuck
Don't
me.
say things like that. I don't want that. That's like my second favorite game of all time. I want that sequel so bad it hurts.
The thing
I do
is-
not want that this year at this
Why
point.
not? It's into the year.
There's too much. The thing is, Nick,
Into the year.
you know what I just did to myself? Fuck me, Mario Odyssey would be fucking great on my Switch. Oh my god, just imagining
it's
playing that.
coming out.
Well, it's
I
coming out.
understand that, but now that I've actually had a Switch and gone around with it, I'm like, oh my god, I would love playing a Mario game
Can
like
we use
this.
that as a hopping
can.
off point? We're going to talk about Zelda in a second. I just want to get some general thoughts out there about the hardware. Nolan and I have picked up the Switch.
Yep.
We've had ample time to play it.
Yep.
I know Nolan's this is actually good because Nolan's played a lot more in handheld mode than I have.
I would, if I had to give a rough estimate of how much I've played handheld, 20 hours.
Why? I mean, man. See, if I think I would never play it handheld because
Brad, do you want to know why?
Why?
Because I went on a fucking
well
vacation the day after the Switch came out.
Yeah, and so
I was
Then
on
that's an
I
asterisk.
was on multiple plane rides.
But in
and
your house, would
waiting.
you use it?
dude, I used it in bed last night. Like for me, because for me, like my bedroom's upstairs, my TV's downstairs. I just popped out, sat. I was like, I have to go. I want to go to bed now. Like I was getting tired. I was like, I'm ready to go to bed, but I can still sit in my bed and play Zelda.
See, I can't do
which
that.
is great.
I
Because
can't-
it'll fall on your face.
No, I can't play shit in bed because I fall asleep in 2 seconds.
I love.
I have 4 handhelds next to my bed because I'm like, I could play all of this stuff right before bed, and I don't play any of them ever.
See, I leave the lights on when I do that because if I turn them out, I'm out. But point is, so I've played about, comparatively speaking to Nolan, I've played about these exact. I played about 20 hours or more docked on my TV, and then I've played about 5 or 6 hours via handheld.
Did you know what? I was super excited when my car had to have maintenance the other day.
Yeah,
I was fucking pumped to go take my car to the shop.
I took my car to get my brakes checked, and they were like, "It's gonna be about an hour and a half." I was like, "It's cool." And I sat there in the brake room, in that little room out there, and I just played Zelda for an hour and a half, and it flew by.
Yeah, and all of a sudden he comes up and he's like, "Oh, Mr. Henderson," you're like, "Wait, what? Really?" And you look at your watch, and
you know what's even better?
Why didn't y'all just leave?
You know what? No, you know what's even better?
And walk somewhere.
What's even better is that like I spent an hour and a half waiting there, and I was taking it in because I thought my brakes were making a noise. I was like, "Fuck, I need to get my brakes checked." Hour and a half. He comes out and he tells me, "We couldn't find anything wrong with your brakes. They're all the way around. They're fine. And we couldn't duplicate the noise that you were hearing, so everything seems fine." And I was like, "Okay, cool." Like, I normally would have been like, "Fuck, really?" But I was just like, "Yeah, I didn't waste any time. I sat there and played Zelda for an hour and a half."
I was telling Brenda I might need to have more car maintenance done.
I know you're very excited, but I mean, isn't that what you're just saying translate to any handheld?
Dude,
Yes and no.
Yes, you could have had your 3DS.
Brad, I think the reason we were enjoying it so much is because we were playing Zelda.
I think there's a very distinct difference. Like, here's the reason why
I wasn't sitting at the auto shop playing fucking Snipperclips and getting, "Oh, I'm so excited about Snipperclips."
What if you had a random passerby who was also getting their fucking car fixed? You could have set it in tabletop mode and played some Snipperclips on a rooftop party.
Here's the distinct difference. Here's why I am personally loving this platform. And
do you have a rooftop garden where I can play some Switch?
Here's the thing. I've had kind of a up and down history with handhelds. Like I buy a lot of them, and I barely touch them. The difference is with the Switch, I'm literally making progress in the same game I'm playing at home. Like the fact that I can just pop it out and continue playing the game I was just playing on the go makes a world of difference to me.
Yeah.
So like I feel way more like if I was like playing Zelda at home and then playing, I don't know, just for example like Shovel Knight on the go or something, I'm playing 2 games, and I always feel in the back of my head when I'm playing a handheld game that I'll probably never finish this handheld game, especially if it's long, like because I don't play handheld games long enough. But like the fact that any amount of time spent playing my Switch on handheld mode is just adding to the progress that I'm making on my when it's docked on my TV, like
agreed.
That is an amazing feature to me, and I love it.
I agree.
And I to comment on like the control options or whatnot. I know a lot of people are kind of iffy about the Joy-Cons, and I think a lot of it has to comfort levels with your hands and whatnot. I thought I was going to immediately turn around and want to buy a Pro controller. I may be crazy. I may be the outlier here, but I'm actually really enjoying using the Joy-Con grip.
I think I would not buy a Pro controller if the Joy-Con grip charged the Joy-Cons. I will say the Joy-Con batteries last a very long time.
Is that going to happen?
I think they're rated at like 20 hours.
Are they going to make a grip that'll charge it?
They sell it. They have like $30.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. It just isn't the one that comes with the console.
Yeah. Isn't that fucking bullshit?
I will say this: if you get a Pro controller, use it for 2 seconds, you'll never go back.
I mean,
and that'll make it weird going from playing in docked mode versus handheld
that's
mode.
That's why I'm going to try and avoid it, honestly, for right now, because the fact that it's not bothering me and there is no difference between the control scheme playing docked and handheld, like I like that. If I was having a problem with those controllers, then I would get the Pro controller in an instant, but I don't feel like there's any problem for me to solve by getting a Pro controller, personally.
Welcome, Joseph from 2015.
Joseph? Yeah.
Hello, Joseph.
No, I saw Joseph in chat last night while I was playing.
No, he was just saying Brad was commenting on our new podcast setup.
He's commenting on our new digs
that we've had for a while.
That's
you. Okay.
Thank you, Joseph. Much appreciated.
Brad, are you choking on a penis right now? What is going on?
All right.
Anyway, so hold on. I wanted to briefly...
1-2 switch.
No, I wanted to briefly talk about my trip. Fuck you.
Oh.
Dude, that tweet that you did on the mountaintop?
Yeah.
That was good.
So for those that don't know, the day after the Switch came out, Bernadette and I went up to Colorado. Flew into Denver, Nick.
How'd that go?
So
the plane crash?
Landed fucking beautifully.
But what about before the landing?
It was fine.
Okay.
We died then.
It's just me then.
So
It's
the
just
first
me.
night in Denver, because Bernadette got me into South Park. I hated South Park because I still to this day I don't like the first.
can't imagine
I don't
a
like the
world-
first couple of seasons. I'm just not a fan of them. The rest of it's great though. So first night we went to Casa Bonita. Well, that was a fucking experience.
What is this place?
Casa Bonita is it has a lot of food and fun and in a festive atmosphere.
Yes.
It is a huge Mexican restaurant, Nick, where
they
they have.
divers?
Pardon, Brett?
Where the divers.
They have cliff divers that dive off of rocks into water. They have shootouts. They have puppet shows.
Like with live ammunition.
Exactly. There's Black Bart's cave that you can go through. It's spooky.
This place sounds dope.
The food was fucking horrible.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, the food is
we
like
waited for about.
cafeteria
It's like
quality.
cafeteria. When I heard cafeteria, I was like, "There's been some pretty good." No, it's like middle school cafeteria.
Why
food.
can they not?
Yeah.
Why can there never be like
It's like Chuck E. Cheese.
It's
Why can't
worse
Chuck E.
than
Cheese
Chuck E.
have a
But
great
like
pizza?
it's like Hooters too. Like they have a theme,
Yeah.
right? Boobs.
Boobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can't they can't do the boobs and also
and
have
good
the
food?
like good
Yeah.
food.
Well,
Like it's
fried
not
pickles are
like
okay.
they can't do both. Why is it impossible for any place to do two things well?
The funny thing is, you go into Casa Bonita and there's like a small line. You can see it, and I'm like, "Oh, I got in line." Small line. You turn a corner, and it's like, pew, way fucking long, and then it loops around like 3 times. We waited for almost like 45 minutes, like just waiting in a line to get up to order our food. So we can get
sounds
inside.
like a wonderful
But
experience.
once we got inside, I mean, it was kind of fun. You know, we got Casa Bonita. And they had little. I tweeted some photos. They had little cartmen up on the waterfall.
Oh, did they?
Yeah. Dude, they completely embrace South Park. South
That's
Park probably
awesome.
got them more
Right.
business.
Probably
They
really
they had
helped
like
them.
signs with like cartmen on it and stuff.
Wait,
Anyway,
is what Chai Tai said true that they're trying to make a Hooters without the boobs and just the food called Hoots?
that's
Because first of all, is that their solution to just get rid of one of
they
them?
might,
focus
they might
more
as well
on-
just call it Coots. That'd get more
They
business.
should call it hoot bulges.
So anyway, so Casa Bonita the first night. The second day, we went to the Denver Zoo.
Saw a dinosaur. I saw that.
Yeah, we did see a dinosaur. We saw a brand new baby giraffe, 5 days old. It was a miracle baby because the mother was on birth control.
Wait, they make birth control for giraffes?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. It was a baby Dobby. I took some photos and
Oh,
stuff.
they named it Dobby.
Dobby, because it was actually like half the weight of a normal giraffe. It was like a baby.
It's like a house giraffe.
Yeah, kind of.
Get it?
Yeah. That was a lot of fun. You know, Denver Zoo, whatever. I'm not a big fan of zoos just because the whole ethical thing, but it's
Hey, I
nice
went
to,
to a zoo
it's nice
over
to
the
see
weekend.
animals, though. The Austin Zoo?
No, the San
Okay.
Antonio Zoo.
Thank God. Austin
Wait,
Zoo is horrible.
We have a zoo?
Yeah, it's like rescue animals.
I fed a giraffe.
It's like this lion was rescued from a junkyard in Georgia.
Is
A
this
junk?
Yes, I swear to God. In our Austin Zoo, there is a lion that used to be in a junkyard.
Is it one of those like drive-through
No,
safari?
you walk
things?
around.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. They have like
A drive-through safari with a lion?
Here's a pack of wolves. Half of them are like missing limbs. Like it is depressing. But anyway, so back to Denver. Not so depressing. Since weed's legal there now, oh my God, that city has fucking embraced
Yes.
it. It has embraced.
It's everywhere.
every corner. I'm listening to the radio, like, oh hey everybody, it's 420, time to smoke up.
Yeah.
Like everywhere.
It wasn't even
Dude, like
420.
we were doing like a big bar crawl when I went last year, and it's like people would be inside drinking, and then when they'd pop out for a smoke, it was to pop out to smoke weed, not
Yeah.
cigarettes.
How much is weed in like a gas station?
They don't sell them. In
Yeah,
gas
you can't sell-
stations.
yeah,
you
you
have to go
in
to
a
a dispensary,
dispensary.
and it's expensive.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, so back to so
Gotta get
after
their cut.
after
Well, then fuck it.
after the
When,
zoo.
when you look at your receipt, it's like the price you paid for the weed is half of what you paid. Everything else is taxes.
Taxes.
It's
yeah.
crazy.
They make a lot of money off of it. We went to this Red Rock Amphitheater, which is kind of like a natural like amphitheater that they designed.
yeah, that place is
they do
cool.
a lot of concerts there. That was actually really nice. Bernadette hated it because there's lots of steps. Then we took it the next day. We took a day trip up to Estes Park, which is like the Rocky Mountain National Park, and that's where, if anybody saw my tweet, I brought my Switch with me up into the mountains. It was about 5 feet of snow, and there was a wind advisory this day. As we entered the park ranger was like, "Hey, be careful! There's a wind advisory. It's going to be bad." And yeah, it was like winds 36 miles
Man,
an
it's
hour.
brave. You took your Switch out in the
36 mile an hour winds gusting up to 51 mile an hour. And there was like times when I was driving and it would be like whiteout because it was snowing, but then the wind would pick it all up and it would just be and you couldn't see anything. But when it died down a little bit, yeah, I took out my Switch and I took some footage of Zelda, or Link rather, playing Zelda with Link in the mountains all cold and stuff.
That was a great pan out though, because I had no idea where this tweet was going.
Yeah.
That was very well done.
But yeah, that thing I panned out to, that was actually a lake. Yeah, but it was so covered in ice and snow that you couldn't even fucking tell.
So here's the real question, because we have to get back to the Switch.
Yeah.
How much Switch did you play on this vacation?
So on this vacation, I played a lot of Switch. Real quick, just the last day when we were leaving, the day before that day with the high wind advisory, 200 flights were canceled out of the Denver airport. The next day we get to the airport, our flight was canceled due to the wind. They were only taking off of 2 runways because the wind was so bad.
Oh God, I would have been having a heart attack at that
So
point.
I think our plane was too small, so they canceled the flight and only larger planes were flying. Like hundreds of cancellations.
God, how do you even fly? Like, if 200 flights are canceled and your flight isn't canceled, like, how do you feel? Like, getting out, like, should we be doing this? Should we be doing this?
Well, I mean, honestly, Nick, if you're going into the wind, the plane doesn't have to work as hard. It just kind of picks the plane up.
Flies better.
Yeah.
Slower.
But no, so the thing that sucked about that was I was supposed to get back kind of not too late and have some time to kind of adjust back from vacation. We did end up getting back because we had to do a layover in Houston, and that flight got delayed, and the next flight got delayed, blah, 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 and we didn't get back till late. But on my trip, I played a lot of Switch. Every night when we went back to the hotel, I played Switch. I played Switch on the airplane all the way to there. I played Switch.
Bernadette feel
Did
about
you?
all that?
We played 1-2 Switch on the plane. Sorry, 1-2 Switch. We played the Snipperclips on the plane.
Yeah.
It was fun. And she was fine. She watched me play Zelda. We played a little bit of Snipperclips at the hotel and stuff. So yeah, she was fine.
So you know what I'm really impressed by on the Switch?
What's
that? The handheld mode, like,
dude, it's great.
Dude,
It's fucking
Zelda.
It
fucking
runs great.
runs.
The audio. My one complaint is headphone audio is lower than I would like it to be. I don't
Headphone audio?
Yeah, because I played it on the planes and stuff, so I didn't want to bother other people.
That's just your tinnitus.
No, that's just Zelda has no music.
I understand that, and I understand the complaint. But even when there were like music and stuff, I wish the audio was slightly louder.
Speaking of which, you got the soundtrack, didn't you?
Yeah.
Have you listened to it yet?
No.
No, he has. He just didn't hear anything. Hey, no. Here's one thing I don't understand about the Switch.
Okay.
Handheld mode, Zelda runs great.
Yes.
Frame drops in docked mode.
Yes.
Because
Because
it's
they're
running
upscaling it,
720p.
yeah.
They're
It's
not
not-
upscaling. It's running at a different resolution. So if
Oh, sorry, it's native. It's 720p, but when they dock it, they up it to 900p.
yeah, why don't they give you the option
To
to
lock
play
it.
720
Like
on
Horizon,
dock?
like Horizon, where you can if you choose like.
Yeah.
So I'll
give
tell-
the
I'll-
player. I want to choose frame rate over resolution.
I'll tell
Just
you why.
Let
Brad.
them do it.
I'll tell you why. They tried to make this as fucking simple as possible. Like and if you look at I know you haven't done it as much, but look at the interface. It's so fucking simple.
I've seen it.
But hold on, it's too simple. It's frustrating. I complained about it the first night I played this because Zelda had an update. That's fine, and it just starts updating. It doesn't tell you how much time it has. It doesn't tell you how big the file is.
Yeah, it doesn't give you a lot of
like
information.
it just hides. It's like an iPhone, but worse. It hides all information. It doesn't tell. And like we were talking about before the show, I was asking like, hey, how come you can't see how much you've played? And Nick found online they were saying, oh, you have to play it for like a week before it will, like.
I
why
may
would that
have
be a thing?
misread this, and the thing is, but I saw a screenshot of the activity log that
Yeah.
tells you how many hours you've played. I still can't find it.
But yeah, exactly. And then Carlos said that he heard it only gives you in like 5-hour increments or something.
Yeah, I think it rounds up or
like
rounds up or down to the nearest 5
I
hour.
don't like how simple it is, and I pray to God they do an update that gives you more information.
Well,
it gives you like
I have a
Very
feeling that's
specifically, the one that lets you choose what you want to output.
so,
to the
and
end.
I think that's a game specific thing. I don't think that's a console.
no, I
thing.
think all Switch games
hold
run
on.
at higher resolution when docked.
But I'm saying, as a developer,
You can
they
choose.
probably could work around that and just not do it.
Because every time I saw reports about that 720p versus 900p, it was always referring specifically to Zelda. And they were saying the game runs 720p handheld, 900
but I mean,
docked.
what else would they be talking about? Like fucking 1-2 Switch
But I mean,
is,
like-
is a bunch of pictures.
But a distinction could be made between. It just sounded like every time I read about it, it was sounding like it was more on the developer side. That's how they chose.
It doesn't matter as much for Zelda, but like, what if like Mario has frame drops in docked mode? Like, it's a handheld. Like, say what you will, all the hardware is in your hands,
Yes.
so it can't be super powerful.
Sure,
correct.
So
but here's so
you're never going to get a 1080-60 on,
I think
on a Switch.
Like personally, I'm very pleased with the Switch, but I will acknowledge that I think the system was kind of rushed out into a point where
Yeah.
they've left a lot of features out. So I have a feeling we're going to
you know what's-
we're going to see a lot of stuff being
You know what's
patched
silly
in.
to me? This communicates with the Joy-Cons via Bluetooth.
Yeah.
But you can't use a Bluetooth headset.
Yeah, it's weird.
Ew.
I don't understand that.
Boo.
Like, why in 2017, when Bluetooth is as good as it? What are we on Bluetooth? Like 4 point something now. Bluetooth has come so far.
Maybe battery. I think they're so worried about the battery of power. Of
And
this
so,
thing.
in that regard, so
Maybe.
yes, so when I played Zelda, yeah, the battery does drain fairly quickly. I mean, I played it for about an hour, and I was down to like maybe 65%.
Yeah.
Snipperclips on the battery, oh my god, like nothing. I played that for like an hour, and I was down to like 97. Like, it is because Zelda is just a much more intense game. So I can understand why, yes, Bluetooth would drain the battery more. But once again, Bluetooth 4.0 is like not battery intensive at all. Like, the Bluetooth has become so efficient that I don't think it would drain the battery that much. I mean, think about that. These use fucking battery.
Yeah.
When you
The
say
Joy-Cons-
these, you're referring
Sorry, yes. I'm referring to the Joy-Cons. The Joy-Cons
But the
are two Bluetooth
But
devices.
the Joy-Cons have built-in batteries, don't they?
Yes,
They're
they
not
do.
pulling power from the console, right?
But the console still has to communicate back and forth with them
Right,
over
right.
Bluetooth.
Right.
But that's what I'm saying. It would be the same thing with a headset. A headset has its own battery.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
saying a
I can
Bluetooth
see
headset it would be the same as just having
It's just
another
like
Joy-Con.
a third
Like, yeah,
connection.
I don't understand.
Yeah,
does
something.
does
What's
the-
up, Brad?
How worried are you that you kind of lost out a little bit by buying it at launch? Like, do you think there's enough issues with it that there's going to be like better
So,
revisions soon?
I-
And I'm not talking about like the
1.5.
slim version. I'm talking about, like you bought a PS4 launch and your controller just as fucked sticks.
With the
you know
sticks,
what I
yeah.
mean?
So-
because the
Oh,
rubber's
and
eventually
the
going
touch
to wear
buttons
off.
too. They got rid of the touch buttons.
I am not
and
personally as
everything.
worried about that because of the modular nature of the system.
So I agree with Nick. I'm not super worried. I am sure that Nintendo is going to put out
All
better
kinds of
Joy-Cons.
things.
They're going to put out a better Switch itself. I'm sure they will. I'm not so worried though. I mean,
$80 for new Joy-Cons.
no, I'm not saying I want to buy new Joy-Cons.
Oh.
I'm saying I'm sure at some point I probably will spend more money on either Joy-Cons.
Like if in
or
a year they release like dramatically improved Joy-Cons and it becomes the standard, a year spending $80 a year after I spent $300 on a system,
I-
Well,
It's
like,
like-
but okay. Let me test
Sure.
your resolve here, though. You already have the thing.
Yep.
My question is, let's say I stumbled into a bunch of money, right? I don't plan on playing Zelda on a Switch.
Brad robbed a bank.
Should I just wait? Like, do you think it's probably safer for me to wait
you might
for them
have
to
to.
like
Hold on.
like fix some shit? Well, no, I hear it's actually not
To
hard
answer,
to find.
to answer your question, Brad. Yes, wait. Because you're not going
Wait
to
for
restart
Mario.
Zelda. You're not going to restart Zelda.
I'm not.
Yeah, so what's the point of getting a Switch then? There's no... So, I mean, I would say for you...
Splatoon?
wait for Mario.
No, Brad, don't buy it for Splatoon. Yeah, I would say wait, put that money aside, put it in a piggy jar somewhere. So you don't risk spending it. Just this is my Switch money, and then maybe at the end of the year, when like Nintendo releases maybe a Mario bundle or something like that, do
Yeah.
that. I don't think there's enough that you would have to like.
What I'm saying, what I'm getting at is, do you think that they're going to they're going to like look at the issues that they're having and silently start putting out better Joy-Cons and stuff like
it's
that?
possible.
When does that not like anytime
Yeah.
a new hardware comes out, they always start doing
PS4s
that.
did that. I think it's going to happen, and I think like as soon as they're done with all the shit they've manufactured so far, they probably already have 2.0 versions of their stuff in the works. I wouldn't be surprised by that at all.
But you know what? Like, to be honest, this is just me speaking from my experience. I have had no issues whatsoever with my. Aside from just the general like design question, well, why'd you make the kickstand so cheap
Are
or
y'all
whatever?
worried at all about docking it? Because there's been some
So
reports
I
of
wanted to
scratches.
talk
I
about
have a
that.
screen protector on it, and I haven't. And not to mention, when I dock it, I haven't felt like I'm
Nick, did you
forcing it. Or
Did you
anything.
get the thick one, the thin one, the glass one? What'd you get? Screen
we do?
protector.
I got whatever the Nintendo.
The official Nintendo one.
Yeah.
Is it how thick is it? Super thick or pretty
I
thin?
feel pretty substantial.
Okay, because there are different ones. There's an official Nintendo one that's thick. There's one that's thin, and then there's a non-official like glass one that apparently a lot of people like.
Mine's not glass,
Yeah.
but
So the thick one I've heard has issues I think.
Well,
with,
I
overheating or
think if it was
something.
thick, it might make it harder to fit in the dock.
Maybe. So to that regard, I did see like a Polygon article or something where they were talking about like
Oh,
switch all
screen
these switch
protectors are
issues.
bubbling in.
Yeah, because
in
the heat
dock.
while it's in docked, like
Oh,
some
it
heat
heats
occurs,
up.
and so yeah, I've heard the glass ones have less issues as long as you wait an extended period of time after applying it
put it
before
in the
docking it
dock.
and doing stuff.
Let
But yeah,
it
I've
set.
had no issues. I like people talk about the left Joy-Con sync issue. I haven't had that. I haven't had any issues with scratching or I haven't had a
You know,
like
and
The sync issue, I think they did an update.
well, but
No,
I
but
heard that
the update did not address that
the
issue,
problem
though.
is, I heard that if you didn't have the Joy-Con attached to the system
Yeah.
while the update was going on, it didn't
Did
fix
you?
the issue. Yeah, I did. Because someone told me, and so I made sure when I updated it, it was attached.
The issue is distance, and if your hand is covering too much of it, it causes issues because the issue is water. And people are made mostly of water. So
shit,
if,
really?
if you're in front of it, or like if you're like this and your Joy-Cons like behind your leg or something, or you're gonna
In
run
your
into
butt?
issues. They even say like to solve these problems, do
Yeah.
this, get closer.
They do say that, yeah.
On that list is don't have your Switch near an aquarium. Like they literally said that
I don't. What?
yeah.
because it's having issues with water.
Yeah. I don't know.
That's
That's weird.
weird.
Yeah, no, I mean, water conducts electricity.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see
Well,
something in there.
it's
it
fucking
throws
the
off
signal.
the Bluetooth. Yeah, I could see that being an issue.
I can only attest to the experience that I've had with it so far, which has been
And to,
pretty damn
to
positive.
go off of Nick, I agree. Like, I've had a great experience with my Switch. My biggest complaint has just been, the battery does drain if you play it too much mobile. But
Yeah.
once again, I have my battery pack that.
I'm probably
works-
going to invest in one of those before
I mean,
go
Nick,
on a
this
trip.
right here, $16.
Yeah.
It is super cheap. And
How much battery life do you get out of the Switch with that?
So my assumption, so this is 15,000 milliamps.
Yeah.
The Switch is 4,300. So it almost would quadruple, essentially in theory, the battery of the Switch to almost 20,000.
Yeah.
So yeah, once again, I took this on a trip. I did not charge this battery pack a single time. While I was on my vacation, the only time I had my Switch plugged into anything was once at the hotel.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I was always mobile and playing this, and
No
it's,
problem.
it's great.
Well, that's cool.
But yeah, no, I just wanted to Brad, and to answer your question about do I feel like I would be screwed because I got jumped on board too early? I would say no. Honestly, I feel like at this point I've almost already gotten value out of it. Like I feel like the money I spent towards this, I feel like it's worth it so
Yeah.
far. Even though
Well,
I've
again, it would be obviously harder for y'all to say that, but I'm saying that's why in the case of me is it
But
so
specifically in your case, like I said, I don't think the only reason I got this was because I got that trade-in bonus,
Yeah.
and then Zelda. I was like, I already have this. Why wouldn't I get Zelda? Since you already have played so much Zelda on the Wii U, just do it on the Wii U.
All right, we do need to
Yeah,
we
we
do
do.
need to press forward.
Yeah.
And maybe because we're 40 minutes in, maybe we should do Snipperclips first and then do Zelda second half
For the second half? Yeah, right. That's gonna be a big conversation.
For uninterrupted Zelda discussion, we'll do that in the second segment. So you're the only one who's played Snipperclips. I mean, I
No,
know
Bernadette played Snipperclips.
well, and Brad played it at actually
PAX.
Brad and Crispy played it at PAX. Right?
Yeah, we played at PAX,
All three of
yeah.
y'all played
Yeah,
it.
we
At PAX.
played,
Oh, tell me about Snipperclips.
So what I will say in regards to Snipperclips, I don't think Brad and Crispy know. It gets so much better. Like what they showed us at PAX was like the fucking just tip of the iceberg. Snipperclips, it's actually a lot of fun. And so to actually say, I didn't capture too much late game footage because, well, I mean, it's fucking puzzles. I don't want to solve all the puzzles.
even play this.
Have you gone through the whole game?
No. So there's the game's made up of worlds, and so the first one I think has 12 maybe puzzles, and each world has 12. I'm on the third world now. I've played all of it with Bernadette. But one of the things is this game's so fucking adorable. Just look at the faces they make when they do things.
It's
when you-
charming as hell. And by the way, that's a great name.
Snipperclips.
Snipperclips.
Dude, it's good.
That's a good name.
Yes.
Yeah, Snipperclips.
It's simple. It's
But
kind
no one can ever remember the name. They were like Snip Clippers, Snipper Clippers.
I'm starting to think.
Snipclips.
I'm starting to think no name will ever please you, Brad.
Yeah.
No, that's not true. Zelda Breath of the Wild. That's great.
3, 4, 5. So 15. There's
What's your
15 puzzles per world. I'm on the third one, and so here's one that y'all haven't seen. It's essentially just you got to get the egg to the thing, but
You each control a
you
different
each
set.
control a thing, and it's so based on how your replicant on the right, and so based on how your character moves, that affects it. So, but same way if you clip yourself or someone clips you, that's going to affect everything on the right. And so the puzzles get really in depth. There are puzzles that involve water physics. There are puzzles that you're underwater and you're having to it gets really interesting.
Maybe for those who are maybe uninitiated with what's
Yeah,
the
we can
concept.
go back to the basics.
I mean,
back to the
essentially-
basics. So it's
Yeah.
it's either 2 player, actually up to 4 players can play this.
Oh.
There's 4-player modes. I haven't done it yet because I haven't met someone else with a Switch. Nick, we should get together and we should do some 4-player because I'm curious as to how crazy those
Oh
puzzles
shit, we can do
get.
4-player because we have 4 Joy-Cons.
Exactly.
Oh shit, and we can
s-
test out that. We haven't been able to do that yet.
Yeah.
That's
So
exciting.
so how Snipperclip works is you're 2 characters, at least when you're 2-player mode, and it's all puzzles, and you clip each other. So when you overlap, one person can clip, and it's almost like a punch card. Whatever's covering the other person gets clipped out, and so you do that to you can make yourself a scoop, so you can scoop something up, or you can make yourself into a hook to grab something. There are puzzles that are specifically, hey, cut something out of a design.
Yeah.
There are puzzles that are, hey, cut yourself out to fill a design. What's up, Nick?
I like spectral shots. Brad would prefer it be called paper people clip each other.
Paper people clip
I mean,
each
that is pretty self-explanatory.
It is. Yeah.
That's not bad, man.
The
Maybe
music.
just paper people.
I kind of like it.
paper people, yeah.
The music's pretty good. It's like I already said, it's charming. Like the faces the characters make when they squat or when they tiptoe or when they reach up when you've been clipped, you
when
can
they cut into each other.
yeah. They do make it like meh, like these little like kind of cute noises, and when you have to reform, it's like he's like "Ugh," and he like pops up and it was like it's fucking adorable. Like, and it's it's one of those things where it's like it can be frustrating because you're playing this with someone else, and it's a test of a relationship. Sometimes me and Bernadette were playing it, and like there was one point where we were like, "No, this is how you do it." She's like, "No, you need to turn." I'm like, "No, you need to." And so after we got over that,
We
little
fought
hump,
that night.
Yeah, no, after we got over that little hump, it became just fucking fun, and we were just laughing with each other.
How much
and
is this a full price?
$20.
$20.
$20.
It's digital now.
It is digital
Why
only.
do you say that like I'm so opposed to
One two
download?
switch.
Wait, I
is
thought you are
$59.
though.
So here's an
For a
example
game like this?
of a puzzle where we need to fit only in that space. And so, I'm the yellow one, so I clipped a little bit of Bernadette, and now she's gonna like clip like the rest of me. That's like, kind of still, and the little meter at the top shows how close you are. And that's kind of an example. Now this is very simple. This is the first world. I didn't want to show too much late game stuff. It gets super intense, and after the show, or we can do some live. We could, if y'all want to stick around, we can do some 4-player. And y'all can see what it's like.
I want to try out that 4-player Joy-Con thing.
But some of it's like super. It gets physicsy. You have to, move things around the world. You have to, I can't even think. There's so many different types of puzzles. Like
This is a hard game to explain.
You guys
Yeah, no,
made
it
a-
is.
You guys made a ball sack.
kind of, yeah,
But the ball sack fits inside the square, and that's all that matters.
yeah.
Dude, like the thing that we tried at or that I hilariously watched Brad play with a stranger at PAX South was when he was trying to get that basketball.
So it's like this one, but the problem with this is it's physics based. So I have a bowling ball instead of a basketball, so it's super heavy. So with the basketball, you could kind of jump and throw it into the hoop, but you can't do that with this one because it's too heavy. Like I said, physics is a big part of this game.
Dude, that's so cool. Oh, ow, that looks like it hurt.
Yeah. No, and yeah, once again, the cute character makes a face like when.
Fuck you.
Yeah, and that's kind of one of the. I just kind of Bernadette was like, "Hey, get over here so I can like pick it up," and then I just snipped her and like the bowling ball
Whoa,
fell.
Nolan, whoa.
I want to hear her impressions of this of playing.
Hey,
this game
I think
with
she's
you.
in chat right now. She's welcome.
Bernadette, be honest.
anytime
Has this
one of
been a completely pleasant experience with you for you?
Let's not wait for her.
I
Yeah,
love it.
but
I
now
love
let's
it,
wait in
uh,
silence for her to answer.
I love it anytime one of the characters like has to stand on top of the other and like squat down to like clip them out. Like,
Yeah, dude, and that's one of the things because a lot of the times, yeah, you have to. Oh, watch. I got stuck on like a loop, and like every time the bowling ball hit me, it pushed me into the thing that spawned another
the
bowling.
button.
Yeah.
and his face,
Oh yeah. Once again,
the face he makes every time the bowling ball hits his head. Is just,
and then he just gets sick of it.
but yeah, no. So I mean, I think the game is delightful. At only 20, I haven't beaten it, so I don't know how long it is. I'm in the third world. For all I know, that could be the last.
I feel
one.
like it'd be really hard to not get $20 worth of content. out
Oh
of
no,
this kind of
totally. Like
experience.
once again, as and she did the same thing to me. Once again, I think I've already gotten like good enough content out of this that I feel like it's been worth it.
It's
for
justified
me.
your purchase.
Yeah, and so once again, she's gonna come over here, and I gotta slowly tiptoe. Oh, and I fucked it up. So yeah, I mean, it's once again, it gets crazy. Oh, so here I want to talk about this one thing. So you've seen simple things so far. Later on, there's like gears, and so you have to turn the gears. So think of like a gear. So there's grooves and, and so you can't just rotate it. So like, we kept trying to just rotate it. And I was like, you know what? Fuck this, Bernadette. I'm turning you into a gear. And so we spent some time and she would slowly turn and I would clip out little pieces of her. And I turned her not so much into a gear. It was more like a fucked up starfish. But it worked beautifully. Like as she rotated, it spun the gear like almost perfectly.
See, was that the intended solution, or is that just something you came up with? I'm wondering.
I don't know. It could have been the intended solution. It could have not been. Later on, we encountered not a gear, but it was more of like a nut, like nuts and bolts. It was a hex nut, it had 6 sides, and so doing the starfish didn't work. We had to. I felt like something vibrate. That might have been Bernadette texting me her answer. I'm trying to chat, but it's not working. Like I'm sending chats through and they're not showing up. So Bernadette is trying to chat. Well, Bernadette, you can just text me your feelings about Snipperclips and I will share them with the world.
I think she won't. What she was trying to say is he cuts me all the time.
But yeah, and so then we encountered one that was like a hex, or the hex nut, and doing the starfish didn't work, and so I was like, try to cut her into that, and I ended up becoming it, and so instead of me just turning in a circle, I ended up turning my whole body, kind of moving around to turn the entire nut, and it's just it gets really intense. Oh, there she is in chat.
There
okay,
she is.
Yeah. So here's one where she cut a little hole into me, and so I could catch the pencil to put it into the pencil sharpener.
Weren't y'all trying to do the pencil puzzle at PAX South? And they didn't do it at all like this, which is cool, because you just made this U-shaped character that holds the pencil upright as you're trying to carry it across the map, which is cool.
We did that.
We did this one at PAX. But yeah, like I said, it just gets super intense with how many there's ones where you have fireflies that are trapped in a bulb. You get it out of the bulb and then get it into a light fixture, and it takes a lot of thinking. There were times we were frustrated with each other, but we were also times where we were laughing.
Is this
until we cried? So yeah, no, there were definitely times where we were crying from laughter, having a lot of fun playing this game.
That was I mean, I was kind of having that experience at PAX.
So I would say if you have
watching Brad play this with a stranger was hilarious.
Oh no, so that's the thing is it's awkward with a stranger. Here's one where it's a fucking claw game where you have to get this monkey to come and pick you up so you can get over there to drop that ball into the destination or whatever. They get super complicated later on. And it's fun.
I see what you're doing. You're making little grooves for him.
Yeah,
to
I'm the yellow one. So Bernadette cut a little notch into the top of me. So now when the monkey comes, it has something to grab onto. Otherwise, it would have not been able to grab onto me.
Oh my god, mind blown,
dude! It's fucking good. That's why I didn't want to show too much late game stuff, just because it gives away a solution. It's not the solution. There are lots of solutions.
Is this like an indie? Is this like an indie game or is this a first party?
I think this is first party. I'm not. I don't know.
It's indie that Nintendo published.
Okay, there you go. So there you go. It's a indie
so this is a Nintendi, as they're calling it.
I guess so.
Well, no, this is actually published by Nintendo. Some of those indie games are not actually published by Nintendo.
Between this and Zelda, I would easily say this is probably the other game, worthwhile game.
I would say the one thing y'all are missing is audio, because just the sounds the characters are making and the music, it's fun.
It's a delight.
It is, and I think we should play some 4-player after the show just so y'all can see an example.
Do the characters, are there levels where they don't start off as that
to my knowledge, you were always that kind of U shape. Yeah, you were always like that.
Oh, because there was an icon up in the corner where it looked like they were both triangles. I thought that.
I think that was just maybe you could do.
Have you tried to make an expertly cut out penis? Is it you think?
Yes, we have. Bernadette actually tried to cut me into a penis.
I would like to know.
Did it work okay?
It was all right. The head was a little weird.
I would like to know.
Aren't they all?
I would like to know, have you tried to make a dick butt yet?
No, that is way too complicated. I will say that I have a character in a different Switch game that is named Dick Butt.
I bet. Okay. And I think I know exactly what character you're talking about. But before we talk about that game, Thank you. Well, thank you, Nolan,
Yeah,
for playing Snipperclips.
I'm definitely
that looks dope.
I'm gonna finish this game. Brendan and I are gonna finish this game because it is a lot of fun.
I'll pick that up for $20.
It's only a gig.
Here's the thing about the Switch
Pretty
that
small.
because I can play it on my console, I can play it on the go. Like my goal this year, Nintendo's known for not having the biggest library on their consoles or whatever. But I'm trying to if I can just keep one game in the rotation throughout the year.
That's
There's always one, but there's
Mario Kart next month?
No, but not you don't have to be like Nintendo first party stuff. Like I'm planning on playing Rime on this now. I'm planning on playing Hollow Knight on this.
You could be getting like it's one thing. You could be getting like pretty iffy performing versions of these games.
I mean, of
though,
course,
Nick.
I'm gonna wait and see.
Like Rime is probably gonna run a lot better on your PS Pro.
Well, I kind of hope not because they're charging $10 more for it on the Switch, which is in the news.
What?
It's $40 on the Switch versus $30 on the
crazy.
PS4.
They're little cartridges.
But if that game comes
Maybe
out and
that's
runs,
why.
the thing is, I might not play Rime at launch because it's coming out right in the middle of the clusterfuck that is April. So I might just push that. My plans to play that back until it comes out on the Switch. So I might wait and see how that performs on the Switch. If it doesn't, whatever, I'll play it on PS4. But like Hollow Knight, I'm waiting on. Mario comes out later this year. So,
but you understand, like nothing is gonna run better on the Switch.
Brad, that's not why he wants to play it on the Switch.
it's not. I don't need everything to run fucking perfectly. I'm not one of those people who like freaks out every time the frame drops on a
Brad,
game. Like,
But you bought a
I could imagine playing Hollow Knight on the Switch and loving it.
do you have any
a
idea?
Hollow Knight, sure.
Was your argument that I bought a PS4 Pro because there's a ton of other shit that I'm playing on my PS4 Pro? Like I don't need to play every little game.
No, but I mean,
like, if I
you
can
bought a
put-
Pro because you do care about performance.
Sure, but like, if Rime is passable on the Switch, I'll play it on the Switch.
Sure.
If I kind of want to play Ukulele on the Switch, if that runs well,
Brad, he's not
play-
going to be playing like Prey on the Switch or something. I
Yeah.
don't think there's going to be too many games where he's going to.
Yeah,
have
I'm never
gonna
gonna come out. It's never gonna be like a AAA like.
No, I know, but like stuff like ukulele and whatnot.
We'll see how they run. I mean, I'm gonna wait and see how what the reviews say about performance on the Switch before I play them. But I'm gonna.
Granted, I mean, if you do play a lot of handheld mode, that makes sense.
One thing I am really liking about just kind of go back to the Switch in general. Like it's it's light.
No, it is. No,
I thought it was gonna be heavy.
I don't mind playing it like this. I've taken it to work every day this week, and on my lunch break,
I
I
feel
just
like I've
fucking
had
bust it out.
heavier. I feel like I've had heavier handhelds before. Probably not, but
The 3DS XL is pretty heavy.
Yeah, no,
yeah,
it
I
is.
feel like this is lighter than that.
And the thing I like about this more is that when with the 3DS,
hard- I think
my
it's just-
hands
it's-
were so close together, and like I had to do this. This I feel like it's a good distance
it's because
apart.
it's because it's spaced out.
Yeah.
It feels and it's thinner.
The thing I was worried about was how thin it is. Yeah, because that was my biggest complaint with the 3DS is like I felt like I was like holding something like weird and flat, and my hands were doing this. But this, I feel it feels comfortable to
and
me.
I'll tell you
still
this.
don't like these
I'll tell you
buttons,
this.
though.
Like
Oh, neither do I.
like
Or
from,
like the sticks.
from a technological standpoint, as far like everyone always says like, oh, Nintendo always has to have a gimmick or whatever. Like the act of taking this out of hand, like taking this handheld, popping it into the dock, and just watching it within not even like maybe 2 seconds.
It's pretty quick. Yeah.
Watching it appear on my TV and then just jumping into playing it like that seems infinitely more useful and more interesting than any gimmick that Nintendo has done with the Wii or the Wii U. So
I asked a hypothetical on Twitter, and I need a clear answer.
Sure.
Let's say Sony does a Vita too. That's not
Okay.
completely out of the question,
It's
right?
not.
It comes with a dock where you can drop in the Vita and it pops on your TV. Is it a handheld or a console?
It's a handle.
why do you have to have a definitive answer? I mean,
What is it?
I guess it's a handheld.
It's a handheld.
It's.
I mean,
a
here's
video
the-
game.
But that's literally the same thing as the Switch.
Here's my definitive answer. It's a handheld because they already have a console. Nintendo.
That's not what.
No. But Nintendo only
How
has
you label it. We
Nintendo
don't
only
need to
has
have this
one
conversation.
piece of hardware now. Really, if you, I mean, the 3DS is still going to get some support, but I have a feeling that's going
Is
to.
it like, it's like
And their
saying,
one piece of
I already have a
hardware
wife,
is
so
a
this other
handheld.
woman I'm fucking can't be a wife too.
Well, legally she can't.
Legally she can't.
Legally
Yeah.
she can't. Be
Exactly.
a wife.
This can't legally be a
Brad,
console.
but to answer your question,
if you don't have any wives and you're dating a chick, she's not automatically your wife by default.
I don't want to have this conversation because we have had it before on the show. The Switch is a hybrid handheld console. It is a hybrid.
The fact that I have played 25 hours of Zelda on my TV and 5 hours or so on my in handheld
Brett,
mode.
Brett,
it's
hold
both.
on.
You know
To answer
what?
to answer your question, is the Vita going to have detachable controllers? You know what I'm saying? How are you going to play it when you dock it? Are they going to
PS4 controller.
Yeah, so I mean that would be I would say
Actually, that would be.
no, it would.
you
That would
know,
be
smart.
brilliant because a PS4 controller is Bluetooth. It would be
think,
easily to Bluetooth to the device. Yeah, I think that would definitely.
you know
be
what?
doable.
I
I
think
would
you're
be
just
all-
getting a little wrapped up in the nomenclature is all. Like, it's just the terminology.
hold
The
on.
same thing
No, but-
happened when we were doing our D&D
I know,
meeting,
I know.
and you're
So-
like, don't call me a paladin, but you're a
Brad,
paladin.
Brad,
Like,
let me ask you this: PlayStation Vita.
Yeah.
That's a handheld mobile console, right?
It's a handheld. Sure.
It's a handheld console, right?
Yeah.
I have played 80 hours of Persona 4 on my TV
Yeah.
because my PlayStation TV is not mobile. It's not a handheld.
Yeah. What is that thing?
That's
It's
the real question.
It's a tiny console.
It's a tiny console that plays Vita games. So I mean, there's this fucking. We're getting
only
into this
hooks up to
weird
a TV.
gray area.
But you know what? If Sony decided to like jump on that, like if Nintendo started a trend with this thing, and PlayStation makes a Vita that can be docked on your TV and played with a DualShock 4 controller, dude,
That'd be great.
That would be great. I would love for this to kind of like breathe new life into the industry from a hardware perspective.
No. I just want to people to understand that I'm not just obsessed with the label. I'm more concerned with like
The future.
with if people only see this as a device that can play what traditionally you expect from a console game, like in terms of looks, does that mean we're gonna get a Fire Emblem or like an Advance Wars that looks like Advance Wars on this thing, or is that not going to be good enough because it's a console?
I don't think
too?
that's going to be the
You
case
see
at
what
all.
I'm saying?
Brad. I don't think that's going to be the case at all. I think there are
You're
definitely
worried
going to be
Switches.
You're worried the label is going to have an impact on the games that are.
Yes.
The Switch is tearing down walls. It's breaking convention. Soon nobody will think in terms
I
of
want to
consoles
pop
and
in
handhelds.
a $40.
There will just be game machines.
I want to pop in a
I see what he's saying.
$40 Advance Wars that looks like Advance Wars,
Sure.
and not like Battalion Wars because it has to be because it's a console.
But once
too.
again,
Sure.
I mean, look at something like Snipperclips. That doesn't look like a
yeah, but that's
console.
indie. But that's indie. Like the Vita has
understand.
indie
I
stuff.
understand.
But you know, if Nintendo put out Advance Wars on the 3DS, I think we could all assume it would look like Advance Wars.
Yeah, and I
but
want
it
to-
would be priced at $40.
Yeah. Are we going to see $40 games that look like handheld games
I hope so.
That already exists.
He's talking about for the Switch, though.
for the,
Well,
no,
yeah.
for the Switch?
I mean, I
hope so.
All right.
Okay.
We need to
Yes,
take a,
okay,
we need to take a
yeah,
break.
we do.
I gotta
And
pee
honestly,
anyways.
I was planning on talking about this Middle Earth gameplay, but like we haven't even talked about Zelda yet. So I would be totally cool with saving
Which
that for
Zelda?
next week.
What?
Middle Earth.
Oh, Middle Earth. Yeah. Fucking,
Let's not talk about Zelda.
Let's save Zelda for next week. No.
It looks the same shit anyway.
Yes. So we'll talk.
Fuck you, Brad.
So let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll have that big meaty Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild discussion. And of course, we'll answer some questions from our patrons. So if you're watching us live, don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
Majora's Mask sucks. Where are we now?
What did he say?
He said, I'll fight you. Wait, are we not recording?
No, we're recording.
Okay.
This is it. This is the podcast. I just don't know. It's time to talk about The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild, because we've all been playing that.
More like Breath of the Wild.
Bread,
That was
because it's
actually-
wide.
That was pretty good, actually, guys. I don't know.
Haha.
I don't know where this series is supposed to go
Yeah.
from here.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like
This
honestly,
is
like
a big turn for the series.
for a very long time, Ocarina.
We need to stop this conversation. Nick, I have a question for you.
Oh God,
Is
never
this
got a
better
thought
than
out.
Resident Evil 7?
dude. Dude,
Gun to
I
your
know-
head right now, Nick.
I know you're in the. I know you're.
What's your number one for the year so far? What's your fucking number one for the year? Answer!
I'm pointing a gun at Breath of the
Guys,
Wild and
guys,
Resident Evil 7.
It's funny you say that because I mentioned this the other week where I'm doing my top 10 list as I go.
yeah.
I've already made this my number one.
Yeah.
yeah. It's like it's, dude.
Yeah. You were so sure.
No. Go fuck yourself. I, for a very long time, have considered Ocarina of Time my favorite game of all time. I feel like it would be impossible for me to say that statement with a straight face after playing 30 hours of Breath of the Wild. I mean, so far.
Whoa.
It like
Wait, you're saying your 30 hours of this game has surpassed Ocarina of
there
Time?
are there are just certain things about Breath of the Wild that, regardless of what, I don't have to finish the game to know, like, there are certain things about this game that just Ocarina, like, no Zelda game prior to this can really hold a candle to.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, in a lot of ways, it's a very different game.
I don't even know how that, like, it's crazy to think this game exists. Oh my god, I want that.
Yep.
I don't know. It's crazy to me that this game exists in the same series. Like,
Link Between Worlds kind of teased at the future of Zelda, and
did,
this is them kind of fulfilling that promise.
and the future of Zelda you're referring to is
open-ended.
Oh, it's open-ended, and they do that. They get away with that by basically giving you all of your abilities up front,
Yeah.
or the ability to acquire all of
Yeah.
your abilities up front. Like, you literally have all of your special items and abilities that you can use in Breath of the Wild by the time you leave the first tutorial.
So
or
I want to
quote-unquote
briefly,
tutorial area.
in regards to that. Last night I was playing this. Bernadette was watching me. I was in actually a dungeon, not a shrine, a dungeon.
Yeah.
And I got really stuck. And I was like, what am I supposed to be doing here? Sorry, yeah. I got stuck. I was confused. I was like, what the fuck? How do I get past this? I realized I completely forgot that I had magnesis. I just forgot that was a thing. And I think the problem with that, in regards to how this changes up Zelda in the past, what happened? You go to a dungeon. You
get
go
an item.
halfway through the dungeon, you get an item, and you use that item constantly.
Yeah, from
in
that point
dungeon.
forward in the dungeon,
And
you think
it
about the entire dungeon from that perspective.
Yes, it engraves that idea. The problem with this is the very beginning of the game, you go to a shrine, and the shrines are like less than 5 minutes sometimes, maybe up to 10 minutes.
But it could use any number of abilities or things.
Well,
that
the
you've
first
learned.
couple of shrines, the first ones you go to, give you that item.
And they give you everything up front.
Yeah,
Your wolf just jumped off the.
yeah, he did.
He'll be back.
Yeah, and so the problem with that is you go through several shrines, several hours of the game without using that ability.
Yeah.
Like you can go for 30 hours in this game and never use magnesis or never use what's the freezing one?
Stasis.
Cryonis.
No, not sorry.
Oh, Cryonis.
That's
Cryonis.
the one I use the least.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying.
I use Cryonis all the time.
So I think that's my biggest problem is that, sometimes you can forget those things exist mainly because they just throw them all in your face at the very beginning.
Yeah.
I understand why, because they want you literally can go anywhere in this game.
The really cool thing about all four of us on the couch, so essentially the way the game is structured, because there are four official actual dungeons, maybe not in the same traditional sense as most Zeldas, but there are four story-based dungeons you have to complete the game.
Yes.
But you can do them in any order.
Boss
So
dungeons.
have we all done one or two?
I've done one.
I've done one.
But we've all done
Nick and I have done two. Crispy and Brad have done one.
But we've all done. I think between the four of us, we've done
done
all four of
different
them.
ones.
No one's done the desert one.
Yeah.
No one's done the desert
That
one.
was in
Okay.
a camel.
That's the one I'm about to do.
Is it a camel?
It's
yeah.
a camel.
It's got 2 humps on its back.
Okay, so
That's what that is. I was looking at it, I was like, what is that?
So I kind of didn't want to jump
It's a
right into
broken horse.
dungeons and shrines because that's the one thing that this game is doing that I don't know if it actually is doing as good as the older ones. So everything else, I think this game is a revelation.
So do you want to skip on that for now and talk about other stuff and come back to it? Because
Let's go back to it
opinions.
because I don't want to hop on that yet.
I really want to talk
So let's one of my biggest issues. Let's get some issues out of the way first, so we can end on a high
positive.
note. I'd rather, unlike your video, Brad, which I did watch and I did like, I agree that I would rather start with issues and end with high notes.
Yeah.
So first of all, weapon durability is frustrating. It's I understand.
It wouldn't be so bad if there was more durability per weapon, but I feel
if they give you a way to repair them.
So
Yeah.
If they give you a way to increase the durability, somehow.
if they just fucking told you how much durability it had. I hate that I'm in the
That's
middle of a
true.
battle and I
That's
have
true.
no idea how many swings are left on this sword.
You get to a point where it's flashing red and 2 or 3 or 5. It's kind of vague.
or when you're trying to chop down a tree.
Honestly, though, I'm on the opposite side of that issue.
Really?
I think the way they handle it is actually really good. I like the idea. What it does for me is it kind of plays into this resource economy that you have.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the few things in this game that really makes you stop and think about what you're gonna do before you go do it. As far as okay, I've unlocked this tower. I can see this area of the map that I'm in now. I can see a couple shrines off in the distance, and now I have to stop and think: do I have enough health potions to help me out if I run into something rough on the way there? Do I have enough swords and shields with me? You know, like it's another thing of preparedness, of making you think. It's another thing that makes traveling through the world feel interesting and perilous.
This is definitely more of an RPG in that regard.
It is. Can I add on to that, Crispy? I agree that yes, you sometimes have to think about it. Yeah, I'm prepared, blah, blah, blah. What I will say is, while weapons constantly break, you are constantly finding
You're
new
tripping
weapons.
over
I
them.
know, I know.
Yeah.
But my hold on, Brad. But what you're gonna say, my problem is you find a really cool weapon, and I'm gonna be able to swing this 20 times and then never see it again. And
So
I'm
you
just
just don't use
I'm
it.
gonna pick up more fucking like
You know what?
bokoblins
I
clubs.
bought a house today. I bought a house today in this game.
I didn't even know you could do
you can
that.
paint. I mean, you can
Yeah.
hang weapons on your wall.
Yep.
And
That's so
it'll stay
cool.
there.
Correct.
Until you come
So
back
you
for
better
it.
So
not
if you
use
find
it.
a weapon, if you find a really cool
I
looking
have
sword,
I have
it's
a
like,
flaming. I
can look at my sword.
I have
instead
a
of using
flaming
it.
like a giant flaming sword, and I was like, "This is pretty cool."
There-
and I put it on my wall. It's
Probably shouldn't keep that on the wall of a wooden house.
It's just glowing. It's not on fire.
Right.
But like,
Cold to the touch.
On the concept of preparedness, and there's a lot of people who also will throw out the argument saying, well, it forces you to try a lot of different things that maybe you wouldn't be comfortable, think you'd be comfortable with.
Yeah,
but
I
at the
think
same
that's
time,
fucking great.
You
I
could say
think
the
that-
same thing about Let It Die, right? You have to be fucking prepared. Do I have enough weapons? Do I have enough
But you're gonna say
et
they
cetera?
have a shop where you can buy everything.
No, well,
And, like-
look at how satisfying finally finding a blueprint is for a weapon you really
Yeah.
like.
I mean,
like,
the
like,
thing-
like
for
all
sure.
of a sudden, now I can have this weapon. It lasts so much longer. I can buy more. Means I've really did experiment and like try all the different weapons.
I think
and
the
I still
only
have to
issue-
occasionally pick something up and use it, but I can still have
just-
like. Say I really like boomerangs because they're fucking dope in this game. I can always have a boomerang with me. Well,
just
right
think
now
that-
it's a crapshoot.
I just think that, like, I don't know, the way I imagine the character of Link, I think this whole idea of weapon durability and having to scavenge weapons kind of plays into him being a super resourceful fighter, you know?
I agree.
He doesn't win because he has enough rupees to buy all the cool weapons. He wins because you can hand him a ladle and a pot lid and he can use it to fight. You know, he might not be great, but he can use it to fight.
No,
I mean, Link is a guy.
I'm not saying that ruins the game
Yeah,
for me.
I know. I'm just offering a counter argument as to why I don't think it's a problem.
and let's not dwell on any one issue too long.
Yeah.
I think the issue is transparency. Just being able to know.
Yeah, I think
big.
like I
That's a
said,
big
that's my
one.
biggest
Yeah.
issue is
Can't argue
I
with that.
wish they
If
lasted.
they gave you like a meter that was like durability,
I thought I
that'd be
want
great.
just a
That'd be
meter.
wonderful.
Once
I would
again,
not
Let It Die
complain
has
about
that, doesn't it? You can kind of
yeah,
see how
yeah.
much, and so that's what that's all I want to know. I want to know how much because, like I said, I'll go into battle. If I go into battle and all my weapons are at like 50%, that might not be a good idea because there are some battles in this game. There are like mini bosses that I've encountered where, like, at the end of the battle, I was on my last fucking weapon.
It broke like
or,
three
or
swords.
sometimes
Yeah.
I just want to know, like, okay, I have 2 fucking night swords. I want to pick up this fucking spear.
Which one is
has
lower?
the lower durability?
Exactly. Which one should I drop?
Yeah.
It doesn't even have to be a number. It could be a little bar.
In that regard, like Chrissy was saying, it almost doesn't matter because you know what? You go through so many weapons.
It does
There
suck.
isn't a single weapon I've found in this game that is irreplaceable.
What
You
about
know?
the fucking elemental rods? Those are so
I
dope.
have like 9 of those. I've got so many of those
Wait, how
rods.
do you
Where are
have
you
so many
keeping?
slots?
Because I keep finding all these wizards that use
No, but
them.
how do you
I
have so many slots? Like
Oh, well, I got a bunch of those
seeds.
Korok
Yeah,
seeds,
the
and
seeds.
I had like
I
30
keep trading
Korok
them in.
seeds.
Have you not been to the
you
guy
gotta
yet?
spin them.
I found
Oh,
him
dude,
once and then he disappeared.
Well, he moves. Okay, the first time you find him at the
Well,
stable,
let's
he
take
moves
it
to
up
a
after the
different
show.
stables, and then
Let's
he goes.
take it up
Yeah.
after the show.
It's-
I'll show you where he is.
He moves around, but then he stops moving, and you can go to him anytime.
shit.
Well-
Plus, it's great to spend those seeds because he does his little fucking maraca dance every time.
I will say,
Do you have to find his maracas
on the
every
topic
time?
of that, and maybe we
No.
can move on to like the size of the world. The fact that Nick has been playing this game for 30 hours and he's only encountered him once speaks a lot to just how massive it is and how you could play this game for 100 hours and not
Miss a lot.
and miss a lot. And to a certain extent, that's frustrating because you know there's shit out there, but it's such a huge expanse. You're like, where the fuck is this shit? I find one piece of an armor set and I could play the game for 60 hours and never find another, and you're just like. I've been really tempted to look stuff up in this game just because it's so massive, and I don't want to miss out on like the really cool shit.
That's what I want to talk about with Brad, or what Brad's saying.
There's
I
segments.
first started playing this, and I was like, "Oh, okay, this world's not that bad." And then I saw some like what I thought. I didn't realize that literally every at the end of the game, every single one, the map will be completely filled. There's going to be no blue. I didn't realize that at first. I thought some sections just you weren't going to be able to get to. And then as I learned that, I was like, what the fuck?
Dude,
like, there is so much of this game.
Every region in this game is bigger than... It feels like every region of this game is like as big as another Zelda game.
Of course.
No,
is.
yeah. And to
one
Brad's
of
statement, yeah, it can be like daunting. The fact that I know I've passed lots of things. I have passed probably shrines that, the shrine sensor, while it is annoying, it is necessary. Because otherwise you will miss shrines. The thing is, Brad, you're talking about climbing, like armor sets. The climbing pants, I wouldn't have found those if my sensor wasn't on.
I didn't know there were climbing pants. God damn
There's
it.
a climbing set, and once you get them all, you get a bonus.
I've got the hat.
How do you
That's the thing.
tell
There's
what the-
set bonuses.
How do you tell what the set bonus is though when it's equipped?
So hold on. The
It'll
only way
tell you.
it'll tell you.
It puts up a thing next to your
So
character.
Brad,
that
the climbing set doesn't have a
set
full
bonus.
set
Well,
bonus.
sure, but
It just every element, every item gives
Adds
you
to it.
more climbing
But the
ability.
bonuses don't trigger until you get them each to
some
level
sets
2.
that's true. Some sets it's not though.
Yeah,
some
But I
sets
mean,
just don't have
hey,
bonus.
how do you know all this stuff? That's the thing. I was playing this game, and people were like, "Well, you gotta do this, you gotta do this," and I'm like, "You have a fucking guide.
Yeah.
There's no way
Yeah.
you know all of this in a world so fucking massive because I've been playing it for 30 hours and I have not encountered 90% of
Speaking of
the
outfits, I wanted to talk about upgrading them, and that's something I talked about with Brad before the show. It's frustrating for me because say I need these guts or whatever to upgrade my outfit. It's frustrating because if you don't have something you can upgrade, you don't know what you need.
Yeah,
because when
that's
you go to
just
the
a weird
fairy,
little thing,
if you don't have something to upgrade, she won't even let you look at what outfits you can upgrade and what you need to upgrade them.
Oh, I thought she just charged rupees for everything.
No, hold on. So to upgrade your outfits, you don't need any money. You need money to activate the fairy shrine, and once you've activated it, to upgrade an item or to an outfit piece, you just need usually
Materials.
monster pieces or fish or anything you find in the world. But the problem is, if you're missing one thing, she won't show you the list of outfits and what you need, and that is insanely dumb to me. Like, I ended up creating a Google Doc and I wrote down everything I need because otherwise I can't just look at it. It's not something I can just look at.
It's just strange little interface.
and I
things.
There are little design
Can,
quirks here.
can
and
we
there,
talk about why this is one of the greatest Zelda games?
Wait, before we do that, can I just say, I'm not sure if you're playing like this all the time, Nolan, but one of the first thing I did in this game was turn the HUD off.
So I don't
turned it
always
back on.
I don't always have the HUD on. I don't.
I've been playing 100% of this game with nothing but hearts on my screen.
Wait till you get Navali's Gale, then you'll turn it back on.
This is me testing. I was trying to see if, because I'm wearing Sheik's full set, and you run faster at night when you have the full set.
Yeah.
Significantly faster. And it seemed like I was actually gliding faster too.
Yeah.
And that's why I was kind of trying to experiment with that, because me and Brad were talking about it. It seems like you do glide faster, but then,
So set bonuses, armor. I think it's one of the most compelling
oh my god,
things
It
you
almost
can
feels
acquire
like-
in this game, and it's because there's no durability.
I
on
almost
that
feel
stuff.
like there's so much detail to there's so much more detail to how you can play this character in this game that I'm like, why do they not just take it one step further and just make it a fucking RPG, like give you experience?
this is a
levels?
fucking RPG.
it's a light RPG.
I
yeah.
feel like it's so much more complex that I feel like every time I get into a combat situation, I was like, the only way this could be better is if I knew I was getting experience for doing this.
Well, I mean,
agree.
it's like the
I
spirit
agree.
orbs.
I love that
Yeah.
you can
Experience.
that you can dye your outfits.
Yeah,
that's
that's pretty
fucking
cool.
Dude,
amazing.
and the way you do, when I was the first time I did dyeing, and I was like, why do you have to take off whatever you don't want dyed? That's so
Yeah.
stupid, or else it dyes it all the same color. I was like, that's just dumb. And then you actually do it, and it's because they just drop you in a giant vat of dye. I was like, okay, that's
gotta-
kind of clever. I
We
think that's
gotta
funny.
take a step back here, though.
Okay.
I still feel like we have failed to talk about the big things that make this game so great.
Yeah.
But we're
The
kind
world.
of going off on
Yeah,
the
okay.
very
I
specific.
I have
smaller
a suggestion
conversations.
of what that might be. To me, the thing that's really been sticking in my mind about this game is the fact that everything is very much systems driven and very reactive and very simulator-ish. And anytime I've had a thought about how to get around something or how to solve a problem or how to do something in the game, and I've thought well, maybe if I do this and use this rune on this or something like that, it works. Like right down to the fact of I was in a puzzle one time where I was trying to direct the flow of electricity across these like different terminals, and I didn't have anything that could conduct electricity, and I was like, fuck, what am I gonna do? I opened up my inventory, I took out a soldier sword, and I dropped it on the ground, and it worked.
Oh my god.
The sword conducted
used the
electricity,
fucking
completed
chest.
the circuit. It worked. And I was like, every single time I've had a thought like that, it's fucking worked in the game. It's incredible.
I will also say this, like to expand on what you're saying. Like today, what Brad told me, because I know Brad's been having some issues with like, keeping arrows in his inventory or whatever, and he told me how he collects arrows, and I didn't know you could do that. Yeah. He pulls out a wooden shield. Dudes will shoot arrows at him. They'll stick into the shield, and then when you put the shield back, it adds them to your inventory.
I didn't know that. Yeah. That's so crazy. You know, I think another perfect example of like the design philosophy behind this game compared to a lot of other like open world games is kind of encapsulated in how boomerangs work.
Oh, right.
I love so you have like just Link as a character as a mechanic in the game. He can throw anything he's holding, right? Yeah. And then you start finding boomerang weapons. And I feel like in any other open world action game, the boomerang would be a replacement for the bow and arrow, or it would be this thing that you equip and you hit a button and it does this pre-rendered animation where he throws the boomerang, it hits the target, and then it comes back. In
you
the game,
say that Link has always had a boomerang.
What? No, I know.
Yeah.
No, but you're killing me here. Just let me get my thing. But in this game, like if you equip a boomerang, it's just a melee weapon. You're just hitting people with it. But then if you happen to use the throwing mechanic to throw it, it flies out, hits something, and then wheels back around towards you, and then you have to actually like catch it out of the air. And there have been so many times that I've like thrown it and it hit something on the way back and I lost the boomerang, or like I threw it and it hit the target and it came back and I just whiffed the catch. And it's like that's so much more dynamic than just having it be this like, oh, it's a boomerang. Like it I characterize it as mechanics versus flavor, you know?
Yeah.
And the idea that the boomerang in this game isn't just flavor for a long reach weapon, you know?
Yeah.
Isn't just like, it could have been a spear that was 30 feet long and I just stabbed somebody and it would have achieved the same effect. In this game, it really is a mechanic of throwing and catching and all of and it flying through the air.
That first time I threw the boomerang and then I just like, I was sitting here, I thought I was going to automatically catch it and it just flies right by my head and I was like,
and you're just like,
what the fuck?
Dude, I've gotten into fights where like I was using the boomerang heavily and I used the Sheikah sensor and I attuned it to the boomerang so that if I threw it and lost it, I wouldn't like lose it. I could go find it.
Do that?
Yes,
Yeah.
anything in the
You can take a picture of
game,
anything.
like any item, you
I
can
know.
attune the sensor to it.
Yeah.
I never thought about doing that though.
You can do that. You can do that for finding like items in the world if you're trying to find something. Yeah, for chests.
Yeah.
You can do it for any like weapon.
I've done it a few times for like recipe items and stuff.
Yeah.
Have you seen the video of the Octorok balloons and the raft?
Oh, Carlos told me about
raft?
that.
Yeah. So they attached the balloons to the raft. It lifted up in the air. He used his wind leaf to blow it through the air, and right before those things wore off, he used stasis to freeze the raft in midair.
So it just-
added more balloons and kept it up in the air.
Dude, that's
And was like flying
Just the other
around
day,
on
somebody,
the raft.
I think it was like Frank or somebody retweeted a gif of like somebody using stasis on a giant boulder, whacking it a bunch, and then grabbing onto the boulder
you gotta
right
be careful
before,
how you
and
do it,
it
though.
fucking shot him like way off, and he just like jumped off on his kite at the end of it. Like the way that like they put a system in the game and the way they present it to you is like pretty circumstantial. It's like, oh, you'd use this to solve these kind of puzzles. But the fact that those systems all hold up when you go out into the world and just start using them on whatever, that they all function a specific way, they affect everything the same way. Nothing in this game feels like a like a conditional thing or like a circumstantial thing, you know?
Yeah.
It's very open world, very true like RPG.
And I think when you combine that with what, in my opinion, is maybe the best open world map I've ever seen.
Okay, that's what I was gonna say next was that if you want to just start adding on, items to talk about as far as why this game is one of the best games I think I've ever played. This is, I think, leagues like easily one of the best open world games I've ever experienced. Like, and I love open world
games. And it's not
I
just
play
the
a lot of them.
topography, and it's not just the way you can get
But
around
that's
by
part of
climbing,
it.
by gliding. Like, that stuff makes it great. Like, it's such an interesting. All the different regions are like interesting and diverse, and like the stuff that you do when you get to them feels like distinct. But I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that like this isn't a thing where you climb a tower and it unlocks a bunch of icons, and those are the interesting things that you go do, like a fucking Ubisoft game.
Yeah.
It is, you climb a tower and you see interesting shit.
And you start-
you're
you're just
marking
like,
it,
I'm
and
gonna
you're
go
marking
over
your
there.
map. You're like, I'm going to go there. I want to go there. And every fucking where you go, there's something cool and interesting.
That was one of my favorite things, is when I was in Central Hyrule. That's the area. I climbed that tower, and you could see so much. And I was like, there's a shrine. You mark it, you go in your map, and I have a
Swap
specific
it, yeah.
icon that I use for
last
shrines. Huh?
This is the last
I
one.
use the chest for shrines. Don't ask me why.
I use the crystal.
I use the crystal for the towers.
Oh.
Whatever, it doesn't matter.
Three
That's
chests
what you
ahead.
chose to do, yeah. And so
The fact that you can customize your map at all is awesome.
yeah, and so I fucking love that, at one point, I'm only missing one tower marked. I haven't been to all of them, but every other one that I haven't been to has been marked. I have at some point seen it and been able to tag it, go into my map and mark it. And it's just, it's the fact that, so I do want to say, the map is so intricate.
Yeah.
It is so detailed.
Yeah.
You can see so much when you
It is
zoom
seriously
in.
the best map. Oh, you're talking about the map.
The map.
Yeah,
Yeah. The fact that when you zoom in on it, you can see intricate details like villages and shapes of things. And some, there was one point where
You
I
can
saw
like
something.
the way the mountains are presented on the map, where you can
the
see how
topography.
the topography.
Or,
of
sorry,
it.
the typography.
Topography.
Yeah, I brainstormed all back to last week.
Topo Chico.
So like there was one point where I saw something, and I hadn't really been over there, and I was like, that can't be nothing. It has to be something. And so on a whim, I went over there and I found a shrine that was kind of in the middle of nowhere, that was off to the side of the map. That if like I had gone over there for any other reason except for when I looked at the map, I was like, that
Let me
has to
see
be
it.
something.
I found a shrine that had nothing in it.
Really?
I mean, it had no puzzle in it.
There's,
no,
there's
I
a
get it.
couple
I found
shrines
those,
that
yeah.
you have to do puzzles in the world to
get
reveal
to.
the shrine, and
Yeah.
then when you
This
go
one was-
in, they're like, just by stepping foot in here, you pass.
This
the
one was
test.
literally I bombed a wall. And
No,
then
I found one
it
like
was one
that.
of the one with the climber.
Yeah, the
pants on
climber
it.
pants
Those
is
get
one
more
like that.
intricate. There's a
Have you
big
got-
one in the Gerudo
Has
Desert
anyone-
that's like that.
Has anyone done any mazes?
Yes,
I have not
Mazes?
done it. Wait, do you mean like the?
No.
Mazes.
I haven't done
No,
a
they're
maze.
giant-
maze.
Dude,
Hedge mazes
I can,
in the
like
game.
when you go up to is it a Kala? Like
I've done two of them.
So you're like-
you get berserker gear by
when you go to the
completing
north
them.
The fuck is
quadrant,
Berserker?
north right quadrant,
up.
you're in the Akala Plains or whatever.
Sure.
And you go up on the hilltop and you look out over. It's right past where it's like another one of those laboratory things where you meet the scientists.
Okay, yeah.
But you look out into the ocean and there's just like it
is
reminded me of like Azkaban or something. From
Yeah,
Harry
I've
Potter.
seen that.
Just
Wait, can you
big-
fly to that?
Yeah.
You can glide to it. Well, so I have the Valley's Gale.
The Valley's Gale.
You get cheated.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you
didn't-
can't climb because it's raining always.
Mhm, and you slip off.
You just
dude, the fact that you can slip off rocks when you're climbing because it's raining.
smart. Yeah, it's all like tied into this weather system. Like lightning storms is the
Oh
greatest thing
my
in the world.
god,
Dangerous.
those are so scary.
I heard stories of people who would like find a camp of like a bunch of sleeping like like
Bokoblins.
dudes and during a lightning storm he would go and place all his metal weapons around
Oh,
the
next
camp
to them?
and they would all get struck by lightning and killed.
Awesome. Once I was talking about it with Brad that I found like this one merchant guy who like will buy monster parts from you.
Yeah.
And like he sold, I got like a Bokoblin mask, and when I put it on, the Bokoblins don't attack me and stuff.
What?
And it's it's this goofy fucking like sewn together
Yeah.
piece of shit looking
they
Bokoblin
think
mask.
you're-
But yeah, they
like
think
a
you're a
furry
Bokoblin.
mask.
Yeah, dude, it's fucking great.
That's so fucking cool. I did this dungeon last night. It's
And
pretty
once
cool.
again, we've all had almost completely different experiences
Dude,
playing
yeah.
this game because
It's so open ended.
It's-
No
yeah.
hand holding. You get out. I won't even call it a tutorial area. It is an introductory little area where you go and get all of your items and then
Learn
like
the mechanics.
the main quest, defeat Ganon.
Yeah.
You know, there's no like crazy they're not fooling you. They know it's a Zelda game. You're gonna fucking fight Ganon. That's your main quest. It just flashes on the screen,
You know-
and that's like such a breath of fresh air of like no bullshit, no terrible like talking to these NPCs for 6 hours
5
before you
of
get your
story.
fucking sword.
Before somebody like tells you the main conflict of the game.
Yeah, and you know what? Oh god, I just had a thought and I completely lost it.
And then it's like, can we talk about? Okay, so there's voice acting in this game.
There's a little bit,
and and it's a bummer to me because I actually the game starts with a character kind of giving you your main quest and kind of explaining this optional thing that you can do to make your main quest a little bit easier, which involves these dungeons, right? And he's like, head to the lands of the east to pass this mountain pass. And like it's all voice acted in a cutscene, and it was so epic to me. It sounded like Lord of the Rings or some shit, right?
The dueling mountains.
But then
or
you
the
go
dueling
to like
peaks.
town after town, and it's clicking on buttons through text. And
That
I
can
don't
be frustrating.
understand why in 2017 a game that clearly has a giant budget that's been in development for years and years is not fully
I feel
voiced.
like
why is it
I
not
can answer that.
fully voiced?
I can answer that. Because it's on Switch. And how much memory does this have?
I mean-
and voice acting takes a lot of
it is.
space.
How much does that hold?
So much.
This-
How much space does the Switch cartridge hold?
Oh,
it's
I
not.
don't know.
Well,
It's
how much-
not that little.
much-
It's
But
like,
dude, neither is
but
this
like-
game.
Like,
Like I agree. I'm not saying I wish it. I'm not saying I like that it doesn't. I wish it had voice acting. I love games that have full voice acting. It's great.
like-
and
but
I
the
wish this
vo-
game did. But I understand it cost a lot of money. It takes up a lot of space. That's the main two reasons.
Berseria
why.
is. I don't believe that Berseria is that bigger of a game in terms of file size than this game.
Mm-hmm.
And there's literally at least 100 times more voice lines in that game. So you can't tell me there's not that much speaking in this game.
Correct,
Even though there's
there's not.
NPCs and there's these towns, like there is no reason that they could not have fit more voice in this game. I don't believe it. Like those cartridges are at least like what was the Dragon Quest Heroes, right? It didn't fit on. It was bigger than the memory
32
on the
gigs.
Switch. So that means it had to be bigger than 32 gigs.
Yeah.
Which means on the cartridge has to be at least 32
Brad,
gigs.
that's not insane
Can
because
you,
because
in
this
Berseria, can you chop down any tree in the game and then that
because
become
this,
like a
this
physical
fucking
object
micro
that has
SD card right
physics?
here is 64
Sure,
gigs.
sure,
So
but
yeah,
what
I
I'm
could
saying is that
definitely-
game comes on a cartridge, which means the cartridge has to be at least 32 gigs in size.
I mean,
which means that's fully big enough to have a fuck ton of voice acting. This has less voice acting than games that were on DVDs on PS2.
I mean, I think if it was possible for them to voice the whole game, they would have done it. I think there are
why?
some. I think there are some under the hood issues that maybe you're not considering that kind of eat up a lot of that resource. And I think part of the idea that like you can climb anything in the world. That means that everything in the world has to be like it can't just be a blank wall. It has to have some sort of interactability, which I'm sure has some sort of coding background to it. You know, any tree you see, you can chop
I
down
get
or
there's
set on
tech behind
fire.
it.
Like shit like that. A lot of games that have more voice acting don't have as much versatility of like systems and physics like that.
I mean, I can't. I'm not gonna say that having like a very detailed
No, I
reactive
don't
world
know. Yeah,
doesn't
I don't know
can't have a
what-
lot of. I mean, like
I don't
GTA.
know what the economy of it is, but yeah.
I mean, neither of us do. But I'm saying like a Grand Theft Auto game has a ton of fucking voice acting and crazy reactive worlds. I believe that they could have gotten the voice acting in this game. It wasn't a priority for them, I don't think, because this comes from a series that had no voice acting, and they were probably thinking, well, it has some, that's better. But like every character that actually speaks is immediately more engaging to me.
No, you're
like
right.
when I'm clicking through dialogue, I'm like, fuck, man, why is this 2002?
Yeah.
Wait, no. Final Fantasy X came out in 2001, and it had more voice acting. Than this.
Okay,
Well, yeah,
that's
we need
true.
the-
I don't want to dwell too long on the
Yeah,
voice. I
it's-
mean, you're right.
it's
I completely
weird.
agree.
It's
The
just
voice
a
acting's there.
thing
I
for
like
me.
though. The thought that I lost a minute ago, and this is kind of connected, is I was worried going into this based on what we had seen and whatnot that this was going to be very much about nature and I was worried there wasn't going to be a very
towns and villages.
villages and people.
Well, they didn't
to
show a
talk
whole
to.
lot of that early
yeah,
on.
I was worried this was going to be kind of a very lonesome experience, but totally wrong.
Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
the villages in this game are so detailed.
So great.
They're so
Oh, yeah.
vibrant. They're so full of life. There's so many people to talk to. So many great Zelda NPCs that are all really well developed, to the way that traditional Zelda NPCs are. Like, there's so much personality across this map, and I've still only explored maybe, I don't know, a fourth of this
Probably
map.
not
Maybe
even
not.
close
I
to
mean,
that.
just loosely explored a fourth of it. Like a fourth of it has been revealed on my map.
So that's the thing. I'm missing, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sections.
Yeah.
But all of that other stuff I've revealed, I've probably only explored maybe half of it. Like, even though
You
I've
can spend
revealed
hours
it,
in each region
Yeah.
and still, But
Dozens.
dude, it's and like the number, like and Brad had mentioned earlier about like always being able to look off in the distance and see things that are interesting. And then there are times like yesterday when I was riding through the fields on a horse, and I looked up in the sky.
On a horse that you caught in the wild and tamed.
Yeah. And then I looked up in the sky, and there was a fucking dragon off in the distance flying in the sky. And I was
Have you done any of
what
those?
the fuck?
What does that even mean?
Yeah, well, we shouldn't talk about it if
I know.
you do know.
I don't.
I've definitely seen them.
Yeah. I've encountered 2 of them.
No, I took a picture of it and it added it to my compendium, and I
should've
read
taken
about
a picture.
And I read about it, and I was like, "That sounds really interesting," because it tells you kind of what about the dragon and like.
I think that's what's causing like lightning storms and stuff like
dude,
that.
it's so like there is
rain.
just so much cool shit
Yeah,
everywhere I
there's
go,
a lot in this.
which makes this also one of the most addicting games
Yeah, it is.
I've ever played.
This really is Zelda Scrolls.
I've played.
This game is so strong because it channels the same things that make an Elder Scrolls game great or a Fallout game great.
Yeah.
And that really is an expansive world with endless amount of shit to see and discover in a way that the Zelda games never really were. Zelda games are more like Metroidvanias, even with dungeons. You know, you get an item in a dungeon, you can go out into the world and unlock some secrets. This is expansive, like the sheer amount of time and volume of like crazy stuff to see and do out in this world is insane.
I also want to point out, I was worried about, and I had the same concern with A Link Between Worlds, is, when I found out you find all the, it's so open-ended and you get all your abilities super early, I was concerned that was going to have kind of a negative impact on the story and the presentation of that story, because it was going to, there was going to be so much freedom left to the character. But somehow they have found a way around that issue in this game. Like, every major area I've gone to, and met characters, and there's the cutscenes that are there are fucking beautiful and phenomenal. And then there's this, I think one of my favorite elements storytelling wise is, and this is Nolan just found his first one today, is this these memories. Like, you find out that
What's like the premise of the game
Link
is
wakes
you've
up and
lost your memory.
He can't remember. He's been asleep for 100 years. Can't remember what happened. So they tell you there's these. You have pictures, and if you go to these places that
In your digital camera.
if you find the places in the pictures, it'll jog your memory, and you have these like detailed
It fills in the backstory of
and it fills in the
calamity.
backstory. And all those that I've done so far have been super well done.
Yeah.
And really memorable.
There's
and,
a reason why they give you a
great
menu
story.
option to rewatch any of them. They're really cool.
They're really, really well produced, but at the same time, they still give you all this freedom to go do anything you want. But the presentation is far and away the best
It's a cool
the story's ever been.
thing to do. out in the world.
This is a little bit of a permutation from what Zelda was before this, and we talked a little bit about this before. Some people seem to think that this is just kind of like a weird left-hand turn for the series, though, and I don't think it is. I think this is more of a natural progression of the same basic concepts of Legend of Zelda. I think
There are things
this
lost
is.
here,
I think
though.
this is a new. I think this is a new set of techniques and a new set of skills being applied to accomplishing largely the same goal.
So
that the past games
They've made a
were.
very
But-
different type of game.
But it is different, but I mean, to say that this Zelda's different is kind of weird, because every 2 or 3 Zeldas, the whole thing changes.
But like Majora's Mask is so
the
different
original-
than Ocarina of Time.
Right,
Wind Waker
but-
is so different than the ones before. But those are still very Zelda in a very similar key ways.
Even like Link to the Past is so very different from the original Legend of Zelda. Like that series became something different by the time it hit Link to the Past. It became different again when Ocarina of Time came out. It became different again.
But those are still, I would say, all a lot closer together than this game.
I want to talk about one thing before I talk about that. I just wanted to say, because I keep looking up there and I keep going to the menu, I like the food aspect of this game.
Interface.
Two things I don't like. Cooking is a pain because it takes so long. You can only cook one thing at a time.
But man, the animation's great.
It is. I wish you could queue up a bunch of stuff to cook.
A lot of games that have cooking in
do you
it do it a lot more
Do you remember,
smartly.
Crispy, when we played Zelda at E3 last year and we were in the booth
Oh
and they
yeah,
had the
and
big
the pot was dancing.
Yeah.
I didn't
realize that.
I
I didn't
we
know what
do
the hell
in
that was all
When we were
about.
playing
Yeah.
the demo, neither one of us cooked
so
anything.
cute.
Yeah.
But we're sitting here looking at this pot. I was like, that's really cute. I wonder what the fuck that is.
I agree that like a quality of life issue over 40, 60, 80, 100 hours, however long you're going to be playing this game, the cooking can get a little.
Did y'all know there's a limit
But-
to how many food items you can have?
I didn't know that.
Or cooked items, like how many? There's a limit.
It's
And I
gotta
just
be
That's
pretty
good because I'm
big.
tired of
Yeah.
scrolling through those
It's
pages.
not-
I've had like 2 pages of those.
3 pages is max.
That sounds really good.
But when you're trying to queue
Are you
up
not
a bunch,
using them? Like,
but hold on. So what I wanted to talk about is to add on to Brad's argument, is that every Zelda game before this has had one thing. You explore the world, you go into a dungeon, you're in that dungeon for a long time, solving puzzles, doing this, doing that. That is where this game differs.
No,
because
for sure.
they have taken like those main dungeons and they took all those puzzles and they pulled them out and they put them in the shrines all around the world.
they've
and
decentralized the gameplay loop a little bit, but I think it's still the same loop.
Well, yeah, no, to an extent it is. But what the one thing this game doesn't have that all other Zelda games had is that in this you don't go into a dungeon and spend like 2, 3,
Yeah.
4 hours in that dungeon.
And a lot is lost when you break it out.
And no, it can be like, and so that's the thing. That's hold on. The thing
I disagree, but
that's fine.
with
Okay.
him saying that you lose a lot.
I'll explain.
The thing I liked about old Zelda games is you would go in there and you would look around and be like, oh wow, this is very different. I'm now in the in Ocarina of Time. You had what was the volcano, the Gora, the
Death
Dongo's
Mountain.
Death
Cavern.
Mountain, or
Death
Dongo,
Mountain.
Dongo Bongo, whatever the fuck. You go in there and it's all fire, and you can see, oh, I can probably go over there and here, and you find a key, and that key can unlock a door, and you go into a room, the room locks behind you, and now you're in a mini boss fight and stuff like that. And so that's not in this game. The dungeons in this game are pretty much just like larger shrines that are a little bit puzzly. You don't really fight as many things in them. There are a couple of combat encounters, but
It's true.
they're very brief, and
They're Jabu at best in size. It's
Dude, Jabu
Yeah,
Jabu's belly was
their-
actually pretty.
Jabu
Their
Jabu's pretty big.
size may not compare to
I think
previous and stuff.
I think at the longer end, those are like maybe comparable to the Deku tree.
Yes. No, I would say. So hold on.
On
So
the longer ones.
So the longer ones are comparable to the size of the Deku tree. And don't get me wrong. I've done 2 dungeons. I've finished 2 of them. I enjoyed what I played in them. But I do miss the experience, the grandiose, the going into a dungeon,
The
spending
atmosphere,
hours there,
the uniqueness.
and having such a unique, either like you had the Death Mountain, and then you had the Zora one, and all that. Spending so much time. I know the Water Temple was shit, but
No. The Water Temple is a great example because not only do I not think it's shit, it's shit because of the boot switching, but the Water Temple, you had a giant space that you had to figure out. You had like little puzzles in individual rooms that maybe could be compared to a shrine, but there was an element to that entire dungeon that you had to figure out, and maybe doing one thing in one part of it would like say affect the water levels, and you would have to figure out how all that was connected
know.
as you kind of spent a lot of time in this dungeon. And you can't take 10 shrines from this game and compare it to an experience of one great proper Zelda dungeon, like some of the Sky Temple in Twilight Princess, or that Snowy Mountain, because they can't achieve that across 100 shrines that all have the same music, that are all fairly linear and flat and have the same tile set, but you look at like 5 different dungeons in Twilight Princess and none of them resemble each other. Like the core idea behind them, like in terms of like structure, the way look at the Water Temple in Twilight Princess where you're manipulating this giant stairwell and moving water from one part of the dungeon to the other. You can't have that with these shrines.
Okay, I know what you're saying, and I not that I don't disagree with you. I don't know if I still don't disagree. I still don't agree with the aspect of like feeling like I've lost something, because while the major I don't really want to spoil what those dungeons are that you do in this game, but there is a bigger element of manipulation.
Every time you solve a puzzle, you are making your character better in this game.
That's true, and that's a
every
great
time
aspect.
you solve a puzzle in this game, every time you seek out a shrine and you solve a puzzle, you are directly contributing to Link becoming stronger and your gameplay experience becoming more diversified.
I agree.
Hang on. My rebuttal to your argument, and I agree. I think those dungeons in previous Zelda games were really cool moments and really cool spaces and really cool experiences the first time you go do
Not just
them.
that, but it was the definitive reason you played a Zelda.
But I beat Link to the Past last year, and my memory of those dungeons is more frustration than it is fun.
Sure.
To be honest,
the
with you.
series evolved.
The idea
like
of
a Twilight Princess dungeon is not the same as a
that's
Link
fine.
to the Past.
And you're probably right. And this is everybody's chance to hop on me for not being a true Legend of Zelda fan.
Well, no,
I'm not saying you're
That's
going to
not
do
what I'm
that, but I'm
saying.
sure somebody at home is thinking it. But my experience with those dungeons is like, okay, am I ready for this? Because once I go in, I either need to fucking bust this out this time, or I leave and restart the whole thing over. Like that is it like later on in that game, some of those dungeons were so complicated, and I needed to have like fairies and I needed to have heart containers and stuff going in there that like it kind of became like oppressive. It was really like I couldn't sit down and go like I'm gonna start a dungeon and maybe do this for the next 3 hours and maybe win and beat the boss. I don't think the way that they've broken down puzzles in this game is less valid than the construction of those dungeons in previous games.
To add to that, I agree with what both of you said. A Link to the Past dungeons could be toilsome because, if you left, you kind of had to restart. Later Zelda games, it's not like that. The progress you made, save. They kind of learn from that mistake.
Not just that, but you're unlocking like intricate alternate pathways via shortcuts. It's almost Dark Souls in its level design.
But then that whole game is I mean, that whole game is a dungeon rush.
Yeah.
It is doing one dungeon and then doing the next dungeon and then doing the next
Past
one. Like if you can break that up a little bit and throw in this wonderful like open world adventure game experience between that, which I don't think, I don't know what Twilight Princess was like. I kind of have an idea of what Ocarina of Time was like, but Link to the Past, like being out in that world kind of sucked.
So
being in the dungeons kind of sucked.
I think what you're trying. I think what Crispy might be getting to, and I hope, and this is kind of how I feel about it too. Well, I love Zelda dungeons of games past, but like
it's just too much of one and then too much of the other. Like mixing it up, I think makes it so that you're never bored. Like,
making these dungeons smaller and breaking out a lot of the smaller puzzles that would normally be in a dungeon into the shrines allows you to go have kind of the the dungeon puzzle solving experience, but getting you back to the thing you want to do most in this game, which is exploring the world.
This game is really good at directing you towards what you think is fun better.
Yes. So what I wanted to say, Nick said, I don't feel like I've lost anything, and in my opinion, I do feel like I've lost something, but I've gained something else. So I do feel like I have lost kind of one of the things I loved most about Zelda, but I've gained something new. And to add to what Brad said, all of the shrines are exactly the same, and that is frustrating. I wish,
in terms of like atmosphere,
music
and the appeal and the tile sets and everything. I wish,
but the actual the dungeons,
the mechanic of
the dungeons are very different. Yeah, but what I wish was every area of the game. You had the Death Mountain area, the Goron area. I wish all of the shrines there were of that style. Of were like fire and stuff like that. I wish all the ones in the north were ice ones, and all the ones in the desert were desert ones.
Why couldn't the items you get at the beginning of the game actually be like styled of a certain part of the world, out of the world, and the shrines within the area may have more emphasis on those items. That way you really do have the concept of a dungeon with its atmosphere, which is distinct music, which is distinct item, kind of spread out in a way, as opposed to the 100 shrines that are all kind of the same.
That would be cool. That's not how they did it.
I know.
You're right. I think we've all made valid points here.
Not to make like an excuse for it, but I think the reason why I maybe hadn't seen it that way is I kind of look at these dungeons as being like Portal-esque, It's like, imagine
They're
Portal.
like puzzle rooms.
Like it is a room that is like, we are putting you in a room specifically built for this mechanic and this puzzle. It's very like, there's no outside influence or fluff. It's just all do the puzzle. Like you make a good point. Like if all the dungeons in Death Mountain were more
rocky
and lava-y, that would have been cool. I don't necessarily have a problem with how they did it.
Okay, and that's fine. That's fine.
Is all.
I'm just saying, I would have liked that, but what I wanted to say is I think the reason they did this the way they did it is this right here.
Yeah.
Because you can do a dungeon or shrine, bam, you're done. You can put this down, you can go off and do something else.
You're holding up the Switch.
Sorry, yes. Sorry, I'm holding the Switch. I think they did this because this is primarily meant to be both a handheld and a home console. You can play this in short, quick bursts and move on and not forget what you were doing. You know, you're like, if you're in an old school Zelda dungeon, you were in there for hours.
Yeah.
And so if you don't have 3 hours to sit down and do a dungeon, maybe you have to go off, work for a week. You can't come back. A week later goes by. You're like, wait, what the fuck was I doing in here? That's not that you can't. And and that is a kind of a testament to the times. All games are doing that now. People just don't have attention spans anymore. People want instant gratification, and so that's how they're making games now. They're you're like just one and done. You get in, you get out, you move on, and so I understand. And don't get me wrong. I mean, I fucking like the shrines.
I'm
I'm
not opposed to. I think the idea of 100 shrines is brilliant.
But I think now
they
instead of
really could have solved. I think actually 120. I think they really could have, like you were saying, distinct looks, feels, music.
Yeah.
I just think
would have gone a long way.
Would have gone a long way.
Dude.
I just think that aesthetic and that emotional response of entering a dungeon now, like I'm just getting that going anywhere in this game. Like I don't have to go to the death dungeon in the middle of the desert to feel like, oh, now I'm in an interesting place. Like everything in this game is fucking like I was flying around. I flew across the mountains into the desert, and then there was a giant, like, monument with these huge statues, and I'm like, what the fuck is that? Like, I'm getting that all the time, and it's not all this constant... It's not that, like, oh, all the interesting stuff in the game is in these 4 chambers at the corners of the map,
Dude, the sense of discovery in this game is unparalleled to me.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
I
crazy.
don't think I've ever played a game or explored a game like this and felt like every single place that I've gone and there's been something interesting to find.
Completely agree.
It's fucking crazy.
I seriously think it's the best RPG world map or whatever that I've ever played.
I've played 30 hours
I think
of this
game. Maybe
game.
best Morrowind.
Guys, I played 30 hours of this game in the last week, and I haven't put 30 hours in a week into a game in I don't know how long.
I
don't play most video games like this.
So here's what. I took Friday off when the Switch came out. I ended up getting sick on Saturday. I was literally bedridden for 18 hours. Couldn't even play games. Like I was just like I feel like death. I lost a day. So I essentially had a 2-day weekend. I still played this game 20 plus hours from Friday to Sunday.
Yeah.
I can't remember the last time I did that.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. This game has a great way.
It's insanely addictive.
It gets under your skin so bad, and it is so good at like, it is so good at taking your time away from you. And I think a lot of that has to do with what we were talking about earlier with the interesting world design and the sort of action economy of moving from point A to point B in this world.
Yeah.
It's not just, oh, I'm just going to fast travel. I mean, you can do that eventually once you've unlocked enough shrines. But move like striking out into unexplored territory can be as much of an adventure and as much of a puzzle to be solved as whatever shrine it is you're trying to get to, you know?
And I think it's almost like agility orbs. Because you see something, it's like, oh, I want to fucking go real quick. I'm just going to go there, and then I'll stop playing. And then you get there, and you see something else. You see another shrine. You see another side quest.
It's so hard to keep your focus. In this game.
Dude, I constantly when I was capturing footage or right afterwards, I saw a shrine and I was like, I'm going for it, and I'm floating there, and I look down and I see what clearly is one of the fucking little seed guys, and I'm like, oh fuck, well I got to go get him. I'm gonna forget he's there. I get distracted, and all of a sudden, I'm just off on some other quest. That
mechanic is great too because it gives them a way to reward you every time you see something and you're like, that'd be really cool if I climbed to the top of that bridge castle, or like, that'd be really cool if I swam over here and did this. Every time you go in one of those directions, every time you go out of your way, there's one of those little Kuroko, whatever they're called, to give you a seed that is part of an economy that improves your character. Yes. Everything you do in this game improves your character, and it makes you want to do more of it.
Except when you get a weapon, because there's a lot of rewards in this game that feel very meaningful, like the seeds, like the orbs, like armor, when I get a weapon, I'm always a little like rupees. I would trade every weapon I could find for some more fucking
Sell some
rupees
rupees.
because some of the best shit you do in the game, you have to spend a fuck ton of rupees.
And that's what
on.
I was saying to
Guys,
Brad
I bought
earlier.
a house today for 3,000
Side quests.
rupees.
Side quest. And in this footage, I actually found a character who will buy gourmet meat from you for 100 rupees each.
What does gourmet meat?
Gourmet meat is the meat you get from some of the big
elks or
elks and
something?
stuff
Yeah.
like that will drop gourmet meat, and some of the larger
It
boars
heals you more.
By the way,
Yeah.
I love when you shoot an animal with an arrow in this game, and they just like stop and they like stiffen up, and they
Yeah.
just like fall over and go poof.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
It's fucked up, Nick.
It's not that more.
it's like the
He loves watching little animals die.
yeah, totally. But like, dude, you can chop down trees in this
Yeah.
game, which is
You can't
fun.
swim underwater,
Dude,
which is bullshit.
The first time I chopped down a tree over a gorge and it made a fucking bridge, I was like, "What the
Yeah,
fuck?"
right.
Guys.
So many things. So
Guys,
many
this
things.
this is probably one of the densest games I've
great.
ever played.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
so,
Great.
it's so weird though. It's so weird because like I adore this fucking game, but like, can it be the definitive Zelda experience for me if it to me still feels very different than
From the
your
classics?
typical? Because like, believe it or not, I know you haven't played a lot of these games, but these guys have. Like you have to agree with me. Like when we were playing Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Wind Waker, those are such different games.
They're very different.
But
from
like,
this.
you can look at those three games and say, well, this is still, even though it's so different in so many massive ways, still much more Zelda in its structure and its gameplay themes.
So,
I don't
Brad,
know what I'm
what-
saying.
what if-
than like this game.
What if the next game was a hybrid? What if the next game did have?
Fuck, dude. Like, if this game had like Twilight Princess dungeons in it, it would be the best game of all time.
I mean, I still think it has the
Hope you're
potential to be
listening,
one of the best
Nintendo.
games of all time,
Hope
even
you're
without
listening.
that. And that
It does.
Well, the
It does,
exciting-
but not. But like,
The exciting thing to know is that this game is probably going to sell like gangbusters. They'll probably make a sequel to Zelda at some point because they always do, and they'll
course.
probably follow this model when they do it.
Well, here's the
and
thing.
if
If
the
it-
biggest complaint that everyone has is we want dungeons to be more like classic dungeons, I bet they'll do it.
Okay,
but that's a big ask, though,
I know.
because
Here's the thing.
real dungeons are.
They can't go back now. Like, they can't do anything less than this. They can't do it.
Maybe
I mean,
they would have to sell it as like being maybe something
like
a
a
little
spin-off,
different,
like an
but
Oracle
yeah.
of Seasons type kind of.
Yeah.
do you want to know my one? Okay, so everyone, I feel like everyone in this room kind of has that one thing
Sure.
that maybe bothers them about the game. No, I think the music that's there is great. It's not a whole lot of it.
But
because
like-
it is
there
very-
more.
from a series like The Legend of Zelda that has some of the most memorable video game tracks of all time.
I think this
is.
Dude, I think the music in this game is great. It's
I'll be
just,
downloading the Nier soundtrack this week.
I think the music in this game is great. It's just sparse.
Yeah.
Because
And
there
subtle
is a lot of
and
emphasis on like being
Well,
out.
it's about nature. It's about being,
being
out in the
being
world.
out in the world.
Sure.
You know,
And so every once in a while, the music will kick in, and when it does, it's great. And I wish it happened a little more.
But
anyway, Nick,
here's the one thing that kind of irks me, and I've played 2 dungeons so far, like major dungeons so far. The bosses, while challenging and mechanically interesting, from a design perspective, like a character design,
Yeah.
like I've always like for me, the reason I love Ocarina of Time, I can name every single boss in every single dungeon, and I remember them. Like
They're puzzles.
meeting them for the first
So
time,
for-
like seeing Volvagia in the Fire Temple for the first time, Phantom Ganon in the Forest Temple, like.
for you two, because y'all only done one.
But we've done different ones.
But like,
yeah.
no. But here's the
Same
thing:
shit.
all the bosses in this game are like, I'm assuming y'all all fought a boss, and it was like something Ganon.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
these-
I mean, but it's like it's supposed to be like they're all kind of like these are all like Ganon
All
has
these
spawned as
things
evil, or
made
whatever.
by Ganon.
And like from a design, like they look cool, but I'm not gonna remember any of these bosses.
No.
Like I might remember like. I will remember the dungeons, like the actual
Oh, no,
dungeon you go through to
definitely,
get to that
yeah.
boss.
Name your
way
favorite
faster.
shrine.
You can't do that because
There's
so many of
120.
them.
But they all have they're all like
And the weird
fucking
names,
weird
too.
ass names.
I'm just saying,
I can name
an Ocarina dungeon like a Dark Souls map.
Yeah, but how many dungeons are in that game?
Well, we're going over quality,
but
quantity.
I
we're kinda getting
could by the time I finish this game, I bet you anything I could tell you the names of most of the locations, a lot of the characters, the divine dungeons.
Dude, I fucking love running into those ninjas on the side of
tried
the
to say
road and they're like, "Oh, help me! I'm so low on water. I could use a Link, and they fucking just like transform into an attack.
so good. That stuff is so good.
The what is it? The Yogo clan or
Yiga.
Yeah,
or something like that. Yeah,
dude. Like
That's
the first
fucking
time I
great.
met one of those dudes and he
That's so
attacked me, I was like,
fucking
"Well, that's I bet you that's gonna be like a really interesting."
There's so
like,
much cool shit that happens out in that world. Like the map is so good, the reactivity is so good, like the combat, the physics, the shit that happens out in that world is so good in this game. The freedom, the fact that it trusts the player just to make their own adventure is better. Not just the best in the series, but it's the better than what other video games are doing right now.
God.
So it is a bummer that I'm kind of hung up on this dungeon and shrine thing because I don't want that to make y'all think that I'm not like wholeheartedly impressed with this game on so many fucking levels.
I mean, they
am.
may not hold a candle to previous dungeons, but
mean,
they're
they
still
don't.
pretty fun.
Okay.
They're
Yeah,
still
guys,
cool. They're not bad.
it's funny you say the thing about the hand holding thing. The last proper console Zelda in this franchise was still trying to tell you how to get on a horse or or get on a bird or whatever the fuck it was.
It's awful.
Like, all right, it was every time you pick up a rupee, it was like you've got one rupee.
Yeah, see-
like 50 hours into that game, it was still telling you how to do basic shit.
So hold on. It's funny though. We first saw this game a while back where you're like, man, this game looks good. And then we saw it at E3 and we're like, oh, Breath of the Wild, this game looks good. And then it came out and we were getting good reviews and we were like, oh, this is going to be pretty good. And then we all started playing it and we're like, God damn it, this is one of the best games we've ever played.
Dude.
Like it is insane how good this game is.
I kind of want to go play it right now.
Me too.
Let's end the podcast.
We didn't talk at all about difficulty,
God, there's a lot we didn't talk about.
which
It's not a baby game.
Well, no.
It's not a baby game.
But here's the thing. I was thinking about this, and a lot of people are saying this game is very hard, and I don't think this game is hard. I really don't, and that's because
It encourages preparation.
It is very forgiving. The checkpointing, you can save anywhere. The checkpointing is all the time. Yeah. So it's not like people have been saying it's the hardest Zelda game in a long time. I don't believe that. Fucking try Majora's Mask. You know, like there are hard. Try an Oracle game. Like getting through a dungeon is hard.
I think a lot of people are saying that from a
it's
combat
fair to
perspective.
say.
No. What I'm saying is, I think hard is the wrong word. I think the proper word that people should be using is dangerous. Yeah. Enemies are dangerous. The world is dangerous. You know, falling and drowning and just being killed in one hit is dangerous, but it's not punishing, so it's not hard.
So to add on to that,
I'm down with that.
Make sure you're using elixirs and food things properly. Because there was one time I was fighting, I assume what's kind of like a mini boss, and this lion type like kind of centaur creature.
Oh, fuck those guys.
And he would swipe me. Huh?
Lionels,
yeah. He would swipe me and do like 6-7 hearts of damage.
Wait, did you actually beat one of those things?
Yeah. On my first try, but it would take. Well, calm down, Brad. The thing was, I used up all of my foodstuffs, and then I was like, you know what? I have this increase my defense by three points. I put that on. He swiped me like half a heart of damage. Like holy shit, that stuff works.
That's probably why.
That is fucking gangbusters. It's a huge difference.
Very witchery.
Very
this
much.
This is a better Witcher game.
Yeah, if you're not using potions properly and elixirs and stuff, you aren't like that. Might be why you're struggling. I would suggest if you go into battle and maybe you're running low on weapons because the durability, like pop some food that increases your attack power, and you can be surprised how far that goes.
This is the open world I wish Witcher had.
Yeah,
and The Witcher had a great open world too.
Yeah.
But okay,
we need to talk about this game.
We've talked about this game for almost an hour. We're gonna take another quick break and then we'll wrap up the show on the other side. I would say you can probably expect us to talk more about this next week a little bit. I would say maybe if I'm
gonna be talking about Nier next
week.
We
might need to do like a spoiler cast if we want to go into too much more detail.
Oh, I
because
want to.
There's a lot to talk about. There's a ton to talk about.
Link kills Dumbledore.
We didn't even. I mean,
No.
oh my god, guys! Yeah, this game is fantastic. That's all. It's fucking fantastic. I can't even thoughts. I don't even know how to.
It's delightful.
It is delightful. So we're gonna take one quick break, one more
break,
and we come back and I'll try and get a couple questions in, and then we'll wrap up and we'll do like an actual 4-player minute.
Yeah.
So if you're listening, don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just a second. Welcome back.
It's one dungeon.
We're trying real hard to stop
doing
talking.
one?
We're trying real hard to stop our conversation about Zelda.
It's hard. Sorry.
So
Like the game, once you start, it's hard to stop. So let's go ahead and jump into community, and then we're gonna wrap up the show. So unfortunately we talked a lot about Zelda this week. So we're gonna have to only answer a couple questions, but I'm gonna let Nolan take it away.
There's
my favorite music.
Oh, we don't have time for it this week. Show's running way long. All right. So first off, we have one new patron this week, Recycled. Thank you for becoming a patron.
Recycled, for supporting us.
Appreciate
on
you.
Patreon.
Let's get to some questions from our patrons. There are like way too many of them this week. Sorry, guys, we can't hit them all. Zelda went way too long. First question we're going to answer this week, Nick the Batman. After the scope of Breath of the Wild, hey, we can't get away from Zelda. Where can Nintendo even take the series from here?
Metroid.
Is it
Space.
Metroid.
Can I finish the question?
Go for it.
Is it actually possible for them to go back to a traditional format for a new 3D Zelda again?
I think the only answer here, I think the only real way they could move forward in this franchise is, I don't think they can scale it back in scope without getting called out.
Yeah.
But I think there are ways to, like we talked about, working back in some of the more traditional,
merging them a bit,
kind of bring. I would take. As much as I love this game and I'm cool with the shrines, I think it would be cool if maybe the next game had fewer shrines and more. Like you know what? I still want maybe 50 or 60 shrines, and then give me more
Dungeons.
Traditional Zelda
big
dungeons.
Yeah, I mean,
Not more, just more intricate,
larger,
bigger,
yeah,
better.
my
And maybe more-
expectation is that, this isn't necessarily missing anything. It's like Zelda, for at least the last several games, has been open world with dungeons. Though this is open world with dungeons, just in much different, more skewed proportions.
Yes.
But I would say, I hope they do more a Link Between Worlds style. What was the one we barely played any of? I wish we would have played more of the three links. The
the
played a good
Triforce
chunk.
Heroes.
Triforce Heroes. I do think they are probably going to keep making those style games for the Switch.
I fucking hope so.
Yeah, me too.
Wait, are you
want
talking about the multiplayer aspect or like the Link Between Worlds style?
the style, the isometric kind of older.
I would love a Link Between Worlds style Zelda game on the Switch. I think that would be fucking phenomenal.
That goes back to my worry. I don't know if that's going to happen.
Yeah,
This is a
it's a question.
I share.
We'll
I share
see.
the concern.
But I hope they go that. All right, moving on. Skip that. Zerby asks, I know most of you agree that it's quality over quantity when it comes to anything game related, but for some games, we sometimes get too much quality and not enough quantity. Where do you draw the line for this? Of course, this is based. Is this based upon the game portions? What portions of the game do you think should have more quality? Blah blah blah. Examples: quests, writing, character skills, items, blah blah blah. So it's kind of like this is a game that has a lot of quantity. Most of it is quality. There are a few side quests that are kind of fetch quests that Brad would.
I think the quality we can't get away from Zelda.
Yeah.
What is the question? I mean,
Well, I think the
Not
opposite. I think the opposite of that would be something like Quadrilateral Cowboy,
Yeah.
where like you've got these really cool systems and ideas, but you just don't get enough of it.
Yeah.
Like it's not a big game, and they don't
Portal?
ever really coalesce in a way that's like super satisfying.
Yeah.
Portal, like the original Portal's kind of like that. Although I would say that I think
It's a perfect
the
game.
size of the original Portal is just
It's a perfect
fucking
game.
beautiful. But yeah, like that idea of wanting more of this really cool system and not being able to have that is almost, to me, more frustrating.
Finding the balance in any game,
It's tough,
I would imagine, is tough. Like I really enjoyed my time with Gravity Rush 2.
Yeah.
But god damn, I did not expect that game to go on for 35 hours.
Yeah.
I about 20 to 25 hours into that game, I was kind of like, all right, we could start wrapping this up anytime now. Not that I wasn't enjoying my time. The quality was there, but the quantity was too much.
I think most of us would agree. We would prefer quantity over quality. Sorry,
Quality over
reverse that. Yeah, quality over quantity. It is always nice to have. I would rather have a short game that is very
Beautiful.
Yes,
Dude,
it is.
that
there is-
affects you.
Yeah.
There
Like,
is something to be said, especially in a time like right now when I'm overwhelmed by huge games to play, where I would just love to have a nice short, like Resident Evil 7 to me. I adore that game, and I think a lot of it has to do with I had like 10 to 12 hour tight experience with that game. Loved it. and then it was done, and I was super satisfied, and I was ready to move on to the next thing. And there's something to be said about that. But we live in an age where not everybody can necessarily afford to buy every single game that comes out and move on from one. Like, developers feel that need to get as much content as they can into their games, so they feel like they're justifying the price that people are asking people to pay for it.
And don't get me wrong here, Witcher 3 was one of my favorite games ever. But by the time I got through that entire campaign and the first DLC and then the second DLC, I was like, God damn, this is so... And it's all of its quality, but it's so much quantity.
Yeah.
That I was just like, oh my God, like, please, can I just like...
Part of me feels like I haven't even finished that game yet because I haven't played Blood and Wine.
Yeah.
And I keep... The cool thing is I'm sitting in the back of my head, like, knowing just like, at any point, I can decide, you know what? I feel like playing The Witcher again, and I can play all new content.
Yeah.
Because there's so much of it, and there's a whole DLC I haven't played. And that's really cool. It's nice to have that feeling, but... Yeah. You know.
All right, let's moving on. Next question from SMG Starlin. I've been playing through Night in the Woods, good game, and most of the characters are refreshingly relatable, with very well written and natural dialogue and very good backstories of common real life problems.
Also a shorter game.
Yeah, it made me realize how long it's been since I've played a game where I could actually see so much of myself in the characters to such a degree. My question to the couch is: what was the last game you played where there was a character which you were able to relate to personally?
Oh man, that's a good question.
For me, it was probably Night in the Woods. Yeah.
And so
I actually finished that last night.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
it gets crazy in the third act.
So I haven't had a chance to play it, but I want to say this game is actually one of the most well written, and like the characters feel real, and they like it's very unique in this day and age. I'm seeing like a lot of personality went into them and a lot of time, and like I can't think of a game off the top of my head that I've played recently that is that like good, and like I can relate to the characters.
Man, I don't know how to answer this question.
And, you know, part of it is an issue of writing. Like part of it is that it's really well written, but I think part of like our resonance with that game as well is just kind of like the age group that we're in, you know, like May is, you know, a college sophomore, dropped out and went home. Like a lot of what she goes through in the first act of that game of like being home and like seeing her town kind of dying and seeing her friends kind of stagnate and not knowing what she's going to do with her life and feeling like she has the weight of the world. Like I've had years of my life that were that. That were like me going home after being out of college for a year and just feeling like my life is gonna be fucking horrible from here on out. Like
dude,
we all go through that.
This is gonna sound awful. And I don't think I truly related to this character, but I feel like this character was. I could see that maybe a lot of people would relate to this character.
If it's Ethan Smith,
dude, no. Honestly, it's been a while since I played this game, so I apologize. I can't remember. I can't remember the character's name. But I feel like this is probably a very relatable character for a lot of people. The main character in Catherine. Like that whole game is literally about
Nick does like butts.
That struggle between like, okay, you're in a relationship, but like I may have feelings for someone else, and that's a pretty deep thing,
right? And at what point are you like a shitty person just for having emotions? Like,
I can't relate to that at all.
And like,
I love
that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, there's been a point in my life I'm sure where I could relate to that. Not right now, but it's just one of those things where it's like I feel like that was a very relatable character. I can't remember his name, but like that's another reason I really like that game. It was a puzzle game that managed to
Vincent.
There is a
Vincent Valentine.
Catherine is a puzzle game that manages to drop some deep shit on you.
Wait, Vincent Valentine, isn't that like
that's
Cowboy
somebody?
Bebop?
Yeah,
Cowboy Bebop, right?
I think his name was Vincent, wasn't it?
No, last name though. Who's Vincent Valentine? That's somebody. Is that Pulp Fiction?
I don't know. That's Vic. That's Vega. Vince Vega and Vic Vega.
Faye Valentine.
Vincent Valentine is some anime name, right?
Man, I feel like if I had my list of games that I've played in the past few years right in front of me, I could find.
Yeah, Final Fantasy VII.
Oh, Nolan's gonna move on. I didn't answer this. But,
final question.
I'm gonna think about it.
Thank
and
you,
maybe I'll
Hunter
tweet it out.
Crispy. Final question for the evening from Andre. Brad, I guess. Fuck you, everybody. Now that you've played a new Zelda game, do you still think that it was ready to be released earlier? and that they were holding back only because of the Switch? And if
Yes,
yes, then how much
100%.
harm do you think it did the game?
Wait, harm it did the game.
Yeah,
I don't
guess-
think it did the harm.
Do you think it was ready? Do you think
Yes, I think it was ready.
that releasing it when they did the game any harm?
Dude, I think that's the one reason they released the Switch. I think they could, if they didn't have Zelda sitting in the wings, they could have waited.
I think
might
they
have waited
released
to
the
release
Switch early, not delayed Zelda. I think they might have delayed Zelda maybe for some reasons. Obviously, they wanted it to be on this new console, but I think honestly they released the Switch early, if anything.
Yeah, the Switch is early.
That's what- no, I'm saying-
I don't think it affected
Yeah.
the game. If anything, that extra time probably helped the game some. I think it affected me.
It's still a shitty thing to do.
I mean, really, yeah. I mean, ultimately, it's just a shitty thing for a company to do, and it's a fuck you to like the loyal fans who maybe saved up their fucking allowances to buy a Wii U. Because let's be honest, a lot of Nintendo fans are kind of young, maybe couldn't afford a fucking Switch, and now they feel like they get a fucking slapped in the face. Here's a fuck you to Nintendo. Maybe we can use this transition. Here's a fuck you, Nintendo. Like, they removed the map on the Wii U pad functionality from the Wii U version.
really?
That they showed when they revealed the game. They're like, hey, you're going to be able to do all this map
hold
shit on the pad.
You can't do the map
no,
shit on the
it's
pad?
nothing.
No,
it's a big button that switches it from the tablet to the...
It does the exact same
the
thing.
fuck
as a
is
Switch.
that? You're going to delay the game and remove functionality
simulates
so it
using
doesn't
the
have
Switch.
more than the Switch can do?
That sucks.
That's
It
fucked.
just says look at TV to play game, tap here if you want to play on the gamepad.
The
And then when
fuck
you
is
tap
that?
it flips the message so it just says play on the gamepad, tap on your gamepad if you
that
want to play on the
That's
TV.
lazy. is what
Why
that
would
is.
they do? That's not
It's
lazy.
so
They
dumb.
removed it.
That sucks.
It's deliberately a fuck
I
you.
think they did that because the Switch can't do it.
Exactly.
And so they didn't want the
Right.
Wii U to be
To
superior
be better
in
than
a
the
way.
Switch version.
That's silly if you
Yeah.
ask me. That's like
Bullshit.
one of my favorite things about something like Xenoblade Chronicles X was the fact that you could have the map on the pad.
Not
and
just
like,
that, but it's like the one unique thing that the Wii U does.
Yeah.
They
And
literally
you know,
took
that-
out the unique thing that the Wii U did.
That was something I always talked about with like, you know, when they released the Tingle Tuner fucking back on the GameCube days and you could hook up your Game Boy Advanced and see stuff on the Game Boy Advance. When they came out with the Wii U, I was like, guys, this would be perfect for a Zelda game or anything where you could have this second screen experience, almost like a 3DS where half the game's on that, the other half is here. And I just feel like that was super underutilized. And in
was
this situation,
actually in the Wii U build at E3 last year?
If that is in fact what we were playing it on the Wii U.
Yeah,
yeah,
of
we played it on the
course,
Wii U.
yeah.
Yeah.
guess
I can't
you're right.
remember because we didn't play it. We didn't play it on the. We didn't play it with the pad. We played it with a Pro
Okay.
controller.
But they've definitely
okay.
shown it with the map. I mean, Miyamoto's like, look, this is the
See, I
unique
thought-
functionality the Wii U has.
I wasn't sure. I couldn't. I thought maybe we were playing that on like a dev kit or something, and it wasn't even actual like.
that
hardware.
is kind of silly that Nintendo did that. And like I said, I think it's because they didn't want the Wii U to have a one up on the Switch.
they were
Because then
scared.
there would be people who would maybe not get the Switch because that's
I mean, I
kinda
understand
shitty.
Which
the
I think is a
business
bit
reason
of a
for it.
stretch. Like I would still rather play the Switch version. Like I don't think I would choose to. You know,
A map on the pad would not be
Sure,
the
Nick,
selling
but that's
point
not
for
the
me.
point. I mean,
but
the
no,
point
yeah,
is-
I agree. It is a shitty.
no, that's what I'm
shitty
saying.
thing
Is
for them to do.
I think their reaction to that was a bit of like that like they didn't need to make that decision. Like
Yeah.
I don't think many people out there would base their decision on which console to play on, whether because of this map feature. So I think removing it was harsh.
Yeah.
Or
I mean, it could definitely affect the decision of whether I'm ultimately going to buy a Switch to play that version of Zelda. or
sure,
not.
but I don't think that's going to factor in for enough people to really make that big of a
Sure,
difference.
I know, but it's still a fuck you.
Yeah.
Sometimes we forget that, you know, I think we forget that we're like, you know, some of us are, you know, grown-ups with, you know, spending money, and a lot of Nintendo fans are fucking teenagers with no money, and it's just such a fuck you.
Yeah. All right, we should probably move on to
We
the
should.
4-player minute.
And once again, we apologize for not being able to get to all of your questions. We appreciate all of your questions. If you we didn't answer your question this week, feel free to leave it again for next week.
Yep.
Where we'll leave ourselves more time to answer them. And of course, you can support us on Patreon at patreon.com/4player, and you can ask us questions every week on the show. We will answer as many as we have time for. But now we need to wrap up the show with the 4-player minute, which we're going to try and keep brief.
I'll keep it brief.
You always say that, but you're going to go ahead and go.
For
Kick
me,
us-
it's just a bunch of fuck yous. A bunch of fuck yous. First big fuck you. Fuck you that I haven't played near yet. I couldn't buy it, but I'm game flying. It comes probably tomorrow. Fuck you. I should have been the one, you know, playing that game on Tuesday, but I wasn't. Fuck you for putting down Yakuza. Fuck you, Brad, for putting down Hollow Knight. Fuck you, Brad, for putting down, not even starting Night in the Woods. And fuck you, Brad, for putting down Neo. I was really getting into Neo before Zelda came out. And, like, just, I mean, you know what? Fuck time. That's what it is. Ultimately, fuck time, because it's not my fucking fault. Fuck off.
It's society's fault.
I'm going to play Nier this weekend, though. Relax.
All right, Nolan?
Q. My hype goes to my Switch, mainly because I didn't think I was going to enjoy it as much as I did. I knew I was going to like it, but like, man, just the experience I had going on vacation with it and having it there and being able to play this full-fledged, like, amazing game went at my fingertips has just been great. My sweat, and I know this has kind of been a sweat we've all been having for a while, but it's just games. I mean, like, fucking Hollow Knight I put down after how many hours I put into it, and I had red boxed Horizon, and I returned it, and I was like, you know what? I'm calling the kibosh on this, not because it's not a good game, but because I don't have time, and I want to play Horizon. The time I spent with it was amazing. It was great.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right? And then fucking Nier, and like, you know, Brad, you know, sent out a tweet earlier today about all the games coming out in April, and I kind of was like, hey, you also forgot another great one that's coming out. Because it's like, Jesus Christ.
No one here is going to finish Neo, are they?
No, I
We're
will.
going to get to the end of the year, and no one's going to finish
Haven't
it.
even started it yet.
I
damn it.
absolutely 100% will finish Neo this year.
Hot dog bet.
Hey.
Don't believe it.
I told you I was going to finish all 3 Dark Souls games. Finish all 3 Dark Souls games.
That's true, he did. My
To completion.
My fuck you goes to Nintendo. Because I'm about to fucking go buy some amiibos. Fuck
right.
you, Nintendo, for doing that.
I
shit.
opened up Nintendos that were still in the packaging last night just so I can like
fucking amiibos. Can I borrow some of your amiibos? Can we have a amiibo meetup party?
It's not worth it.
if they're not
Wolf
Zelda
Link,
amiibos.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I never bought
more
Twilight
early
Princess,
game
the
effect
HD edition, and I thought about it, and I almost did. And now I'm like, fuck me, I should have, because now I can get that Wolf Link.
I have the Wolf amiibo sitting on
I do kind of want to get the Archer Link one with
That is a cool
with
one,
the
yeah.
ancient era.
anyone who wants to use my Wolf amiibo is welcome.
I got derpy
I would
looking
love
Zelda.
to.
I bought derpy looking Zelda last night
Yeah.
at Toys R Us.
Toys R Us.
Oh, the Breath of the Wild one.
Yeah. And then,
They're Toys R
marked
Us
up.
last night?
right?
They're $15.99.
Some of them are.
That's
Oh,
crazy.
they all are.
Oh, they're all.
The Guardians 20.
And my other fuck you goes to myself, because I'm probably going to go buy some amiibos. And I shouldn't be doing that just for Zelda, but I
Never
kind of
against it.
want some of that.
Yeah.
Good equipment and whatnot. Yeah.
Even the Macablin is 16.
Jesus,
Macablin.
Crispy?
bro. I've got the prices right here, and you're wrong, but okay.
All right.
My hype for this week goes to Middle Earth: Shadows of War, because that new gameplay reveal they were expressing a lot about the changes made to the Nemesis system.
Which, by the way, I
And
promise we will talk about that.
we
in
will
depth
talk
next
about
week.
that next week. We didn't really get a chance to cover it this week, but it's more than just how Talion interacts with the enemies in the game now.
Yeah.
It also, like, because the big point of this game is that he's building an army, so it also very closely ties into
Allies.
allies,
Yeah.
like how your like lieutenants and your generals and stuff behave and act towards you, and you can use Nemesis to recruit people, which is a lot more interesting and diverse than it was used in the last game, and kind of expands on like the whole idea of how in the last game you could like mind control people and then kind of control them. Now you can really just like build an army. It's kind of cool. Really can't wait to see how that turns out.
What?
Yeah, my sweat for this week goes to 4-player D&D, because that's coming up.
Yeah, we got to figure that out.
I gotta get ready for that. I got some prep work to do, but that, I mean, we were originally saying this month, so I mean that's.
But then Zelda happened.
Then Zelda did happen, but I think Carlos is gonna be out of town until the end of the month after this week or something. So
We'll make an announcement soon once we
So
figure
yeah,
that out.
I don't know. We got a little bit of time, but it's coming down the pipe. My thank you for this week goes to, I'm gonna say, Nintendo for making a Zelda game that finally gave me my Zelda moment.
What do
The
you think?
moment where I started playing Legend of Zelda and it just like resonated with me emotionally and got under my skin and made me really interested in the world and
Everyone should have their
interested
Zelda
in the
moment.
series, you know, and everybody's had them, and you know, some people are kind of like, yeah, well, you know, yours maybe doesn't count as much because this one's so different than all the others.
Ignore that. What I was going to ask
My-
is, was it a specific moment?
I mean, it happened very early in the game, but it was when I started getting like my items and when I started experimenting with them in the world and started seeing like the versatility of the systems and how everything was like super congruent outside of dungeons as was in dungeons. And then the old man like when, you know,
The story reveals
stuff
itself,
happened,
yeah.
Voice
and then you're finally getting ready to like go out into the world for the first time. That was when I was kind of like, I love this game. Like,
Dude, I hated
love-
that. That old man was like, go to that shrine, they'll give you the paraglider. Just kidding, you gotta do 3 more.
Yeah,
I was like, fuck you, old man.
Yeah, I said that to him at the time too. But yeah, like that, like there was a moment where I was like giddy in my seat, going like, oh my god, I think I love this game, and it was within 2 hours. You know, it was crazy. And my fuck you for the week is actually going to be, it's not a fuck you, it's a don't be that guy, and it's gonna go to those people who were trying to bring me down off my high. The purists, if you will. And I
Purists
just
are the
say,
worst.
hey, listen, man, you know what? This game may be really different than every other Zelda, but the series has gone through a lot of changes. And I'm sure whatever game you really loved, there was somebody who loved an earlier game who maybe feels the same way about you. So don't be that guy, you know?
Fair enough.
Or girl.
Fair enough.
Don't be that person.
They might not have actually been trying to bring you down.
No, I know.
All right, Nick, do his 4
All right,
minute go.
I'm gonna bring it home. My hype this week. I'm gonna keep this totally unrelated to Zelda because we've talked too much about it. My hype, Outlast 2, comes out April 25th, which, you know, god damn it.
I predict you will like it more than Resident Evil 7.
They are releasing it as a physical disc on PS4 with Outlast 1 and Whistleblower on the disc. So you can essentially buy the whole series on a disc for $40. I'm super excited. And you know, I'm just in general excited for Outlast 2. It's been one of those games I'm super. I think it was on my top 5 most anticipated of the year when we did that list. Yeah, I'm ready. I mean, I hope my calendar is more clear for playing games when that comes out. But hey, we'll see.
How is that not in VR?
Well, somebody actually asked them that on Twitter the other day, and they said they're interested in VR, but they didn't build this game with VR in mind, and they don't want to just do a lazy port to VR. They'd rather build it an entire
it
game
in
from the
and
ground up.
have it be bad.
So you know, I respect them for that answer. My sweat goes to Neo for the same reasons Brad. I mean, like what you said, Brad. Like I fully intend to finish that game this year, but it is not a game I was really happy about having to like put down for any extended period of time because I have a feeling it's going to be kind of rough to go back to. But I still am adamant that I'm going to finish that game this year.
It's really good. It's really good.
My thank you of the week goes to community member Nelefy for doing that awesome art that we're now using all over the place. We're going to be using it on all of our promotional
It's
materials and
beautiful
whatnot.
stuff.
It's beautiful
It's so
stuff.
good.
If you haven't seen it,
I feel
you
like
can,
my chin is a little weak, but
if you haven't seen it, you can check it out. It's on.
the outfit was
You can find it on our Twitter page, our Patreon page. I'll soon have it up on Twitch, on Facebook, all that stuff. It's pretty cool art. So thank you, Nelefy, for agreeing to do that. And
Isn't that? Are you sure it's not Nalufi?
Nelufy, I don't know. how to say
Nelefy?
it. The point is,
It's definitely
dope
not that.
as
New
hell.
Luffy would be 2 F's.
It's dope as
How
hell.
is
We're
it not
very, very
Nelefy?
happy you did it.
No.
And my final thing, my fuck you of the week goes to Nier.
I think it's no Luffy.
For coming out at the worst possible time. And, you know, in fact, my fuck you goes to any game coming out within a 2-week on either side of Zelda. Like, just, you know, the fucking Horizon came out 2 or 3 days before Zelda. I had just enough time to realize I love this game before I had to put it down because
Before putting it in a closet and forgetting about
Zelda. I got Nier in the mail the other day, opened it up, looked at it, and it's like, oh, this looks really good. I really want to play it. And you know what? That game's getting fucking phenomenal reviews as well. Like, I thought, you know, that game was gonna get like 6s or something because it's it's kind of a niche weird thing. No, it's getting 9s, 8s and 9s
and 10s. It's at a 9 on Metacritic.
All I did was open the plastic. I took out that sweet flip cover. I was like, oh, this is so beautiful. And then I put it on my shelf. And who the fuck knows when I'm gonna get back to it? Because I'm gonna play Horizon first because I already started that game after I finished Zelda. So like, it might be
you are not gonna finish both Nier and Neo by the end of the year.
You
one of those
watch
gotta
me.
go.
Hot dog.
And I mean all
watch
of
me.
Nier, because people seem really confused about what the end of that game.
No,
is.
as far as I'm concerned, if I see the credits roll, I'm done with that game.
You fucking idiot.
Fuck yourself.
No, that's very much not.
No, not Nier. I'm talking about Neo.
Oh, Neo. Sure.
Oh yeah, no, I'll do the I'll do the other stuff in Nier.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, sorry. We need to wrap the show up because we've gone long. Thank you so much for listening. 4playernetwork.com is the website, of course. You can watch us broadcast games every single night at 4pp.tv. Join us next week. We'll be talking about more Zelda.
For Zelda Podcast Part 2.
We'll be talking about maybe Brad will play some Nier. Maybe Brad will finally play like Psychonauts 2, Rhombus of Ruin.
Fuck. Carlos played some of that.
You know what? At the very least, we'll have a lot of fodder for podcast discussions for the next few months because there's a lot of stuff to play. So anyways, of course, thank you so much for watching us live and for listening. We will see y'all next week. Good night.
Bye, guys.
Bye.